Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that, another home run? But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome. Episode 532, Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. It's December 6, 2023. It's the third full day of the winter meetings. It is Scott Boras Day. He is addressing the media right now. I am looking on social media, looking at videos, pictures, and it seems like every freaking reporter that is in that Nashville resort is talking to Scott Boras right now. And there is a ton of reports out there, tweets on the latest between the Padres and the Yankees for a potential Juan Soto deal. John Morosi just tweeted out Juan Soto trade to the Yankees is now close to being finalized. Source confirms. If completed, Michael King and Drew Thorpe, along with additional players, will go to San Diego. Bryce Miller of the San Diego Union Tribune was scheduled to join the show today. So maybe he'll pop in, maybe not. We'll see what happens there. If you want to join the show, let me know, and I can drop that link in there, and you can give any thoughts that you have. But I just want to go through some of these tweets here. What's the latest? I guess Scott Boras has discussed the latest between the Padres and Juan Soto, talking to the media here. And Sammy Levitt of 97.3 The Fan has provided the audio. So here is Scott Boras. This just came across my feed.
You know, there are a lot of teams that they're just canvassing to find out what their best options are. And obviously that involves a lot of whenever you get into a fifth-year player, that includes a number of our clients. So I would say that those possibilities are much higher because of the status of the player. Where in other needs of teams where they say I've got to fill other holes because even having one of the greatest players on my team doesn't allow me to cover my pitching side. So you can kind of see where why Suarez would be.
Okay, the audio isn't that great, so I apologize for that. But it's pretty much Scott just talking about how he understands the Padres' point of view there and how having a great player on the team doesn't help you have a complete pitching staff. So, yeah, I mean, Scott, this is the guy that said at the GM meetings that he's talked to the Padres and their plan is to have Juan Soto on their team in 2024. I think that was AJ just not telling Boras anything. Like, yeah, that's what our plan is, because why would he tell him any different, But yeah, this is what we got. I mean, let's see, just going through here. John Morosi says Alex Verdugo is not going to San Diego in the Juan Soto trade agreement that is on the verge of being finalized. And yeah, so Verdugo was traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees last night. And my initial thought, I made a video on this, and a lot of people saw that, and they had obviously some thoughts on it. Why would the Yankees trade for Verdugo when they're trying to go all in for Juan Soto? Are they going to flip him to the Padres? But according to the Yankees here, or Yankees reporters, it seems like their plan, they'd be fine with having Judge play center field, have Soto play left, Verdugo play right, I think, because Yankee Stadium's probably better for Soto in left, not right field, just like Petco Park's better with Soto in left field, not right field, and Tatis in right field, not in left. Or, I mean, Tatis would be good in center, but you get my point. If Grish is on the team in center, you have Tatis in right, you have Grish in center, Soto in left, right? But yeah, I thought maybe Verdugo was going to get flipped to the Padres, because the Padres, if you're parting with Grish and Soto, you need outfielders. And I know Verdugo is not long-term, but that would still fill one of your holes, at least for 2024. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. The Padres in this deal, they want pitching, and it seems like they're going to get pitching. The latest is that Michael King is expected to be in this deal. Kevin Acee wrote a piece, Padres Yankees appear to be close for a Juan Soto deal, just like a lot of reporters have said. Dennis Lin here within the last 20 minutes As the Padres and Yankees continue working toward a Juan Soto trade, Jake Cronenworth is another trade candidate for San Diego. As Mark Feinsand said, Cronenworth's 7-year, $80 million extension begins in 2024. He has an 8-team no-trade clause that kicked in this offseason. So are the Yankees on? I don't think he would go to the Yankees, but what teams are on that no-trade clause? And I've seen some Padre fans like, what were the Padres doing? Why did Crony have a no-trade clause? Why are you giving him a limited no-trade clause? Well, because you gave him a 7-year extension. If I'm agreeing to a long extension with the team, yeah, I want to have some say in where I go if you're going to trade me. And when they signed that extension, Crony was just coming off that huge hit in the postseason, and he is part of the Padres core. So I understand at the time why you give that 8-team no trade clause to Crony. It's not a full team. It's not a full all 29 team no trade clause. So we'll see. But I feel like the Padres, that would be a terrible look on the Padres. Them trading Jake Cronenworth. I know this is supposed to be a lot about Juan Soto, and I will do that, but I'm just going through Twitter and seeing the latest, and that's just what came up. With Crony, that's a terrible look for the Padres. If you're trading Crony in a salary dump, that's what that would be. Because it's not like you're selling high on Jake. You're selling low. He just had a down year. So you're dumping his contract so you can have more room to spend, so you can keep Bogarts at short. You can have Kim play second base, or it guarantees you opening up a spot for first base DH, gives you more room. Maybe you're in play for someone like Rhys Hoskins. But when you give someone an extension, and the extension hasn't even started yet, the new contract started this year. It starts next year, 2024. Hasn't started yet. And you deal him, that's a salary dump. That's a terrible look on the Padres if that even happens. But that is a possible thing that can happen here. He's another trade candidate for San Diego, according to Dennis Lin, according to Mark Feinsand. Kevin Acee, I'm going to read here in his piece, Padres Yankees appear close on a Juan Soto deal. He wrote this. This came out a little before 9 o'clock, so about a half hour ago. Talks between the Padres and Yankees regarding a massive trade with Juan Soto as the centerpiece seem to be nearing the finish line. And that's pretty much what every reporter is saying. We haven't heard a ton from San Diego reporters. It's been mostly New York and national reporters. Discussions between the sides, which have been going on in earnest for weeks and date to the summer, picked back up Tuesday afternoon and continued well past midnight, which isn't surprising. It's the winter meetings. AJ doesn't sleep. The deal could be completed as early as Wednesday, with one source saying talks have progressed to a point where a trade is almost certain to be done. And yeah, I mean, I thought maybe the Padres would be waiting for Shohei Ohtani, and that's the sense that I got when AJ Preller was speaking. Now, AJ Preller, it's not like he has to tell the truth. We know in the past he has not told the truth, and he has lied to the media. But it just felt like we were waiting for Shohei Ohtani, that domino to fall, and then he'll go, search around, see if he can get a really good package and try to use that against the Yankees. But if the Yankees are willing to give them Drew Thorpe and Michael King and then others, that's probably the best package that you're going to get. So the Padres, they're probably going to pull the trigger on that. And that's where it seems like this is going here. Because Jack Curry, he is a Yes Network host, studio analyst for Yes Network. A lot of Yankees fans love his work. And I'm going to go down here to his first tweet of today. As we reported on Hot Stove last night, the Yankees intensified efforts to acquire Soto. Those talks have continued and a trade is likely. Keep an eye on King and Thorpe. Sorry, I'm just going back and forth. I'm seeing this, and then I'm seeing tweets pop up, and I get notifications on my iPad here. So I'm going back and forth. Okay, those talks have continued, and a trade is likely. Keep an eye on King and Thorpe. Padres need pitchers, and those two could headline a trade. Would think the Yankees will part with 4 to 5 players. And that's what I'm thinking as well. So King, Thorpe, and because there was a report by, I want to say it was Brendan Cuddy, I think, from, he's a Yankee beat writer. I forget where he writes out of, but there was a report out there from him about, I want to find it. It was, I don't want to misquote him, so let me find this. So, okay, here it is. As Joel Sherman reported, Yankees have been softening on the idea of surrendering Michael King. They're also more willing to include Drew Thorpe, I'm told. though it's unclear whether they would do both at the same time. So again, like I said, I think on the video that I put out this morning, just trying to, put out something quick, the Padres and Yankees could compromise. Yankees give the Padres Michael King and Chase Hampton, not Drew Thorpe, and then some other prospects, or the Padres get Drew Thorpe, not Chase Hampton. They get Clark Schmidt, not Michael King. But if you're the Padres, you're trying to win right now in 2024. So I think you need to go get Michael King here. If Preller can get King and Thorpe out of the Yankees, which is what they didn't want to give up either of those guys. If he can get both from the Yankees here and then get more prospects, this, I think, is going to end up being a pretty darn good trade for the Padres. I mean, look, Jason Dominguez, his name's going to be brought up. Spencer Jones, his name's going to be brought up by Padres fans. They're the top prospects, right, in the Yankee system. But that's not realistic for 1 year of Soto. No guarantee of extending Juan Soto long term, because the Yankees, I mean, they're not going to extend Juan Soto. Like, I'd be really surprised if he's this close to free agency. The Yankees could just bring him back in free agency, right? Boras client, it seems like Soto is set on going to free agency. So the Padres had a little bit of limited leverage in this situation here. Anything that Brennan Cuddy put out here, I don't think so. Going back to Jack Curry here, he said here, when a trade of this magnitude with a superstar in Soto and 4 or 5 other players is being sorted out, which to me, that's him telling us that the trade is being sorted out. It's going to happen. Many issues need to be resolved, including medicals. And when multiple players are involved, those various injury histories need to be reviewed. It's all part of the process. So to me, that's telling me that, yeah, the trade's like done. They're just going through medicals here. He says, with the expectation that King and Thorpe would be included in a Soto trade, my hunch is that Schmidt and Hampton won't be moved. Could see Brito and Vasquez being dealt, which are 2 guys that I believe have pitched at the big league level for the Yankees, but not a ton of time. Those guys could be swing guys, add them to the bullpen. Padres are looking for a couple of relievers, so that would fit there. Since the Padres could use a catcher, perhaps Yankees move one of their catchers as a part of the deal as well. That's interesting. So would the Padres take on someone like Kyle Higashioka, Michael King, Drew Thorpe, and then they take either Brito or Vasquez? I don't know if they would be able to get both, but maybe they take on those 2. I do see Bryce Miller, although it says his device not connected here, so I'll try to work on that with him. So, Bryce, if you can hear me, I do see you in the room. If you can hear me, it says that your device is not connected. So hopefully that can get fixed at some point here. Oh, I think that's good. Let me see. Bryce, can you hear me? No, don't think I got him. Can you hear me, Bryce?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I got you. Perfect. Awesome.
I can't get the camera to work for some reason.
No, you're good. You're totally good, just like that with the audio. It's all right. Thanks so much for the time. So I assume that you have been reading all of the latest on what is happening here with Juan Soto and the Padres, the Yankees talks. It seems like all of the reporters are saying, yeah, a deal is close. Do you think that the Padres are getting what they should back here in a potential Juan Soto deal? It seems like they're going to get Michael King. We'll see if they get Drew Thorpe. We'll see what other guys they get back. I mean, they wanted Michael King. They wanted Drew Thorpe. If they can get both of those guys back, I think this is kind of the best package that the Padres could have gotten back.
Are you still there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Sorry, having trouble with the connection here. I can hear you, but it's really choppy.
Okay. So just your thoughts on the Padres being close for a deal here, Juan Soto to the Yankees. Do you think that this is the best package that the Padres could have gotten back, could be getting back? Like the Yankees are the best fit here.
Well, I think people are looking at this at ground level when maybe you got to look a little higher. It's not really the trade of Juan Soto, because the goal of the Juan Soto trade, it is to acquire pitching, but would be to clear the payroll, to free up that money. So it may not be what happens in a Juan Soto trade. It might be, what do they do with the money they freed up moving forward? It might be the deal after the deal. Does this free up money to go after a frontline starter that nobody's talking about right now that might be available as a free agent? So it might not just be, okay, you moved Juan Soto and you have Michael King and Drew Thorpe, if those reports are accurate. It might be, what does that allow them to do moving ahead? There seems to be more reporting that Jake Cronenworth might be being shopped before he starts to make big money on his deal. Really, it's kind of a twofold process for the Padres. It's freeing up money, and then what do you do with that money? So the Juan Soto trade, in my mind, if it comes through, and it just looks like it has too much momentum not to at this point, it's what can they do moving forward beyond Michael King and Drew Thorpe? That may just be the first slice of the apple, but there's certainly got to be more coming.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It feels like, because you get Michael King back, and sure, there's upside, and the Padres really like Michael King. That's what it seems like, according to reports. But Michael King, it's kind of like the Seth Lugo question, someone that was in the bullpen. He did start at the end of September, pitched well this past season, but there still is that question mark if he can last as a starting pitcher all season long. And then
Right.
Drew Thorpe, he's not going to be ready to start 2024 in the rotation. So there's Darvish, there's Musgrove, who are coming off of injuries. There's Michael King, who wasn't a starting pitcher all season this past year. And then Drew Thorpe's not ready. You got Pedro Avila, Matt Waldron, but you want to get a 4-starter. You probably want to get more starters than that, because we know that you don't go through a season with just 5 starting pitchers. So I wonder, are they going to use some of the players they get back here in a deal with Milwaukee or Cleveland or Tampa, use some of the top prospects that they have, even though I don't feel like AJ Preller wants to do that, because they're just in a spot right now where they just need to start developing this pitching. But AJ might be looking at this like he wants to, or needs to, save his job almost here in 2024, because no one believed in him more than Peter Seidler believed in him.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot to unpack there in what you just rolled out. But I guess starting with the Michael King part, I think that question's fair. And the Seth Lugo comparison, they didn't know how durable he could be, and he wasn't known as an innings eater, and he wasn't known as a guy who could go late into games. King has not pitched that much, to be honest. He's played, I don't know, I just looked this up, but he by far his biggest season, he had 104 innings last year, 104 and 2/3 in 49 games. Other than that, he barely eclipsed 63 innings. But not every landing spot is the same for pitchers. I mean, it's a small sample size, but how much of a factor did Ruben Niebla have in helping turn Seth Lugo into the kind of guy that could go deeper into games and eat more innings? Was that just they lucked out and Seth Lugo finally had a year where he was more durable and he could go deeper? Or is that Ruben Niebla, who's considered to be one of the best in the game, in terms of how they started conditioning and all the way from the off season through spring training, how they talked about protecting arms and innings along the way at certain points. If anything, the Padres are kind of known for being a little too protective of arms. That really came up and was amplified with Josh Hader in a relief role this past year, and the usage or the limited usage, that perception.
Mm-hmm.
So I think anybody that comes here, I think the feeling is there's probably more confidence in Ruben Niebla because of what Michael Wacha did here and what Seth Lugo did here. For them to do that at the same time and to succeed at that level and to elevate their worth in terms of free agency right now, some of that's got to be how they were handled here, how they prepared here. And again, Ruben Niebla is considered one of the best in the business.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's also, and we can not even just talking about Michael King, but for free agency and certain guys that are coming for like a 1 year deal that could be attractive to those players to come in on a 1 year deal, be able to work with Ruben Niebla, and then, use this year to go get some money in free agency after the 2024 season. You talk about Michael King here. Yeah, just looking at the innings, 2019, only 2 innings, right? Just first came up. Then 2020 was the short season, 26 and 2/3 innings. 2021, 63 and a third. 2022, 51 innings. And then 2023 here, 104.2. But that's the most that he's pitched in his big league career in any season. Now, 2023, like he had a sub 3 ERA. 2022 had a sub 3 ERA as well. Had a much better ERA, 2.29 in 2022 compared to 2023. The whip was at 1 in 22, 1.146 in 23. So, like, there's definitely talent there. And if you look at the baseball savant numbers, King's numbers are better than someone like Clark Schmidt. Like, there's a reason why the Padres want Michael King over Clark Schmidt. But my question to you is, like, the Padres, if you're trading Juan Soto, I thought that the Padres would want controllable pitching. Michael King, sure, he's controllable, but it's for 2 years here, not 4 like Clark Schmidt is. But it's also, the Padres, they're trying to win right now, and who's the better guy? So I guess it was just kind of striking the middle there, trying to find the best answer. Do you want the control and you believe that you can fix Clark Schmidt a little bit? Or do you want just the 2 years of Michael King and work with Michael King, hope that he can stay healthy as a starter? Seth Lugo, there were question marks last year, but it ended up working out. I know he was on the IL a little bit with the calf, I believe, and that might happen with Michael King, but I'll take Michael King. If he's going to be like Seth Lugo, I'll take that in the Padres rotation right now.
Well, and that's probably a factor. They're kind of cornered because of the departure or potential departure, and it looks like they definitely will, of Snell and Lugo and Waka. They need somebody who can pitch right now. They need a starter that they can slot into that 3 or 4 spot in the rotation. They realistically couldn't move Soto. I mean, they could, because moving the money was such a big part of it, but without at least finding somebody that they thought they could put in the rotation and could be a part of that rotation throughout the entire season. So that's probably one of the factors that's driving some of this. Would in a perfect world, would they want controllable guys for 3 or 4 years? Absolutely, everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have to think, as you pointed out, in the short term, that they need arms in the rotation. They need more than one arm in this offseason. And so you can't get 2 without getting 1. And so you start there and with somebody that you think, if this is the team that's willing to make a deal for Juan Soto, are you getting an arm that you can put in that rotation out of the gate in 2024?
Yeah. And so let's say they make this Soto deal, which it seems like there's no turning back now. If everyone's saying how close it is, I feel like it's going to happen here. There's Jack Curry of the S Network talking about medicals. So let's say it's a deal. They take the $33 million expected off of the Soto contract for 2024. They add however much Michael King is going to be making, which I believe it's less than $5 million. It's not much at all because he was a reliever here for the most part. So you're saving a lot of money there. Now, like you said, what's going to happen after that? What moves are the Padres going to make after that? And I guess that's my question. My next question here: what do you see them doing? Is the first thing here starting pitching, and then because that's obviously the priority, but then there's other interesting guys as well. Do they make sure to bring Gary Sanchez back? Do they get into someone like Rhys Hoskins? Obviously, Jake Cronenworth is a big question as well. Are they more aggressive in the starting pitching market with bringing someone like Seth Lugo back? Or do they want to stay more at like the 1 year, take the risk, high upside guys, someone like a Jack Flaherty? I really wonder what they're going to do here with more flexibility that they have. Because it was one thing if they had the flexibility a couple weeks ago when Nick Martinez was still available. A lot of guys are still available. It's not like everyone is signed, but I just feel like maybe they would have been in a better spot. Maybe they wanted Nick Martinez back, but they just couldn't do it at that point because Soto wasn't off the books yet. So what do you see next if this Soto deal ends up happening?
Well, you're right. By clearing Soto's money, that gives them an option maybe to have different conversations with the type of pitchers that they couldn't before.
Mhm.
Um, when you ask what's the priority, well, it's starting pitching because they need more than one, but also, Preller said at the winter meetings the other day that it's that and it's relievers. They're hunting arms, but you're right. There's a lot of other question marks. That doesn't even get into what do you do with Trent Grisham in center field? What do you do? They carried for a big part of the season, 2 DHs that they took a shot with and didn't really work out. So do you need a bigger bat, maybe in that first base slot, depending how you're moving guys around in the outfield if Soto's gone. And there's a lot they need to address, but I think they rightfully seem focused on, and none of it matters if you don't have a rotation, if you don't have that starting point. I mean, they just went from having one of the best rotations in baseball to kind of falling off a cliff. And I had advocated for, in the Union Tribune, wrote a column early, and that, they should trade Hader at the deadline and possibly Snell, so they don't get caught flat-footed and get nothing for those guys, other than like a compensatory draft pick. But you don't want to get shut out on some of the most talented guys in the market. And it certainly at that point wasn't looking like that team was going to pull it together and make a big run. I think they just held out hope that there was too much talent and that they could make that big run. And they rolled the dice and they lost on that. And they're probably going to lose both those guys for nothing, essentially. And obviously that wasn't very palatable in the Juan Soto situation. If you're going to go up to the trade deadline and have him be a rental just for a few months, that really diminishes your return potentially on dealing him. So it's the money, but it's also, it would have been a lot to consider all three of those guys walking away with nothing in return. At least in the deal that everybody's hearing about for Soto, you're starting to address some pitching. You haven't addressed it, but you're starting to, and you got to make strides. And that's one of what you would assume would be multiple steps this offseason.
For sure, yeah. And I saw this, you write this in the Union Tribune. Great stuff here. Again, if you're just joining the show, Bryce Miller of the UT is on the show right now talking about a potential Juan Soto trade to the New York Yankees. It feels like it's going to happen. Feels like it's pretty dang close to being done. You advocated for Juan Soto to be dealt, so you think that this was the right move. What would you say to those fans that want Juan Soto here, that they think that regardless of what the Padres get back, Juan Soto's better, he helps the team more? For me, it's like, okay, you don't have to trade Juan Soto. There was that argument. I'm hearing some people on the radio, you don't have to trade Juan Soto. Yeah, you don't have to, but you kind of do have to, because the Padres are trying to win right now. They want more of a complete roster. And given the circumstances, the payroll, what ownership, I'm assuming, is telling AJ Preller where it needs to be. If you want more of a complete roster, you need to free up the money here, and you need starting pitching. You need bats. You need depth. And it's not like you don't have any offensive talent without Juan Soto. That would be one thing. But you're hoping, it's a lot of hope. Manny bounced back. Bogart's more consistent. Hopefully doesn't get, hurt with the wrist. Crony, if he's still on the team, bounce back. Guys like that, Kim having another good year and continuing to progress. Tatis, healthy, full off season. We'll see what he can do. It's a lot of hope, but there's still offense there. Like, we can talk ourselves into, the offense is going to be better this next season, even without Juan Soto on the team. I think that this was just the best thing for the franchise to do, considering the circumstances. If you're trying to build the best roster overall, it's not just scoring the most runs and then who cares about the pitching staff. You got to do both here. And this is just the Padres trying to make the best out of the situation that they're in right now. And they did partly put themselves in this situation. It's not all on them. I know that there's fans that think it's all on AJ Preller. It's not. There's some unfortunate things that have happened here, but a lot of it is on the Padres, and now they just have to make what's best out of it.
Yeah, I mean, keeping Soto and that level of payroll financially, you're almost saying we need to win a bunch of games 7-6. We need to win Look what happened when they, even at the bottom of the rotation, when the Padres have had to choose in recent seasons subpar pitching. What did that look and feel like when Rich Hill was here? I mean, Rich Hill was getting destroyed. A couple years ago when they had Jake Arrieta at the very end of his career, pitching matters all the way through that rotation. And you could have kept Soto in that money, but there's also the bigger picture. I understand a lot of fans will look at it and say he's one of the best talents in the game. He's only 24, I think. Figure out a way, shuffle the money. Well, they lost the Bally's contract, their regional sports network, and Major League Baseball for one season compensated them for 80% of that deal, I think. So they still had losses, but that wasn't in perpetuity. They've got to replace broadcasting revenue that's significant. They were over, I think, the second threshold of the competitive balance tax, and the penalties that come with that as a multi-time offender at that level. That's a lot of money. They are in violation, without getting too far in the weeds, of baseball's debt service rules. Our Kevin Acey has reported on that at the UT. I mean, all those things scream you're right at the edge of your financial flexibility, if not past it. So if you keep Juan Soto, you can't do any of those other things that you're talking about. Build out a rotation, build depth, the things that we all know watching postseason baseball that it takes to win. I mean, look at the Rangers, the formula they used. They had a few superstars, but they built around the edges. They did it with less payroll. They found depth and balance that translated to winning baseball. You can't put all your eggs in a Juan Soto basket. You can't put all your eggs, and they didn't. The Rangers didn't put all their eggs in a Corey Seager basket or whatever. So could you have kept Juan Soto? Probably financially, and then where are you? What chess moves do you have left as you try to build out the rotation and everything else we're talking about? So I think it was just the money handcuffed them. And really, to be honest, if you're going to have a frustration about contracts and why Juan Soto's not here, you got to wonder why they have the Xander Bogaerts contract. That's somebody that, what was that, $280 million over like 11 years?
Yep.
And did they really need Xander Bogaerts? They had multiple guys who played shortstop. I mean, if you go, Kim has shown he can be one of the best in the game at that position. Cronenworth has played it in the past. Manny has played it in the past. Tatis has played it in the past. You're about 5 shortstops deep when you go get Xander Bogaerts. I mean, they're using those guys in other positions in other ways, but that money is, on the books and has really handcuffed them. And the Cronenworth deal didn't help. I mean, they haven't started paying out the big numbers with that, but that's an $80 million deal. And I think they just got caught behind all these giant contracts because you've already got Manny, you've already got Fernando. And at some point, you can't have a roster filled with giant long-term contracts. It's got to be more of a blend of controllable younger talent. Kim's the perfect example. He's played as hard and as well as anybody, and he's been an unbelievable bargain the last year, if not two. But it's these giant contracts that they're caught behind, and Soto is just the one that's in position to be moved. Because who's going to take on a Manny Machado contract? Who's going to take on a Xander Bogaerts contract? They'll be lucky if they find anybody who wants to take on Jake Cronenworth's contract based on his numbers and projection over the last couple of years. I still think he could bounce back, but that's just personal gut feeling. But if you're just, the raw business of looking at the numbers, that doesn't look like a very good contract right now that they, in that case, didn't have to really sign at that moment. They didn't have to get him signed in that moment. And then everybody across baseball at the time of the Bogaerts deal said that was too many years and an overpay. By the end of the year, he had pretty good numbers based on his career numbers. It didn't feel like that because they were 82 and 80 or whatever, but Soto's numbers weren't bad at the end of the year. But paying those guys that much money didn't get them into the playoffs. It didn't get you where you needed to be. And you tried that, pay a bunch of guys a bunch of money. So I think they're finally ratcheting back and trying to find that middle ground to build a more complete baseball team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the timing, that's what really hurt the Padres here, because if you would have asked them, who would you rather have long term, Xander Bogaerts or Juan Soto, they're going to say Juan Soto. But you can't control when Juan Soto hits free agency. You can't
Right.
control when Xander hits free agency. And the Padres, they didn't get Jose Abreu for first base, so they just wanted to move Crony over to first and have Kim play second. They were going to go get Aaron Judge or Trey Turner. Those missed, so they went to Xander. It felt like their mind was set on getting a big guy. They couldn't
Yeah.
control if they were going to get Juan Soto long term. So let's guarantee that we have a star, another star here long term. Yeah, he plays shortstop. That's not the best position for our roster right now, the construction of the roster. But let's just go get another star, and then we'll worry about it later. But things have literally gone like the worst that they possibly could have gone in terms of not winning, right? Tons of postseason revenue that you didn't get. The TV deal, guys underperforming. Peter Seidler's passing, obviously, and the $50 million loan that they had to take out and all that. Like everything, it seems like just hasn't gone the way that I feel like a lot of people with the Padres were expecting them to go, especially like making the postseason. I feel like they were banking on that. And when that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
that's millions. I don't know if fans realize this. That's millions of dollars that they miss out on. And like the Diamondbacks this year with their World Series run, they're going to probably spend more money this offseason than they were planning on because of how much money that they got from their postseason run. So it's just been an unfortunate path of events here with this Padres team. And so now, they have the big contracts, and it just came down to a timing thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, you make a couple of really good points there. One, I was rattling off all the financial challenges, and I didn't even mention them not making the playoffs. I mean, talking to Eric Grupner a couple of years ago about, I remember asking him where they were financially at that point with a bunch of big contracts heading into the run where they went to the NLCS. And he said, well, we'll tell you how we're doing after the playoffs when we figure out how many home games we get, because those are huge. Those are needle movers. That's a lot of money. And with the names and the payroll that they had budgeted in or planned to be in the playoffs. Or, why would they think they wouldn't make the playoffs with that roster? They were being talked about as a World Series contender, let alone just a playoff team. So that's another financial piece of the puzzle. And all those things matter, all those things. The other good point that you had, I thought you talked about, they allegedly were checking on Judge and Trey Turner and some of those sort of things, and they ended up with Xander. It did feel like they were looking for the one big name because they thought that would just be the thing that pushed them over the top. No matter if that was their thinking, that's what it felt like their thinking was. It felt like, okay, if we wedge Xander Bogaerts in a lineup that's got Manny and Tatis and Soto, who are you going to pitch to at the top of that lineup? How do you navigate that third time through the rotation? How do you survive that game after game after game? And it felt like they just thought that was going to be the piece that put them over the top. And, we're never going to know. Unfortunately, the late Peter Seidler, principal owner of the Padres who passed away recently, tremendous man who nobody worked harder to try to win in this city for this city. And I wrote about him. The things he did away from baseball were probably the most important parts of his legacy, and it had nothing to do with Petco Park. You don't know how much he was thinking. I don't know my health situation, and I want to win while I can see it. I want to win here now, because the efforts he put together to try to win showed. It was pocketbook, but it showed on paper. All of baseball was talking about how all in the Padres seemed, and now they're trying to walk that back and be more sustainable. He really didn't like that word sustainable, and he would always ask what it meant. But I think going back to that Xander move, that was one of those that they, if we're going to win now, man, that lineup is really good. And if you throw Xander Bogaerts in there, but again, the years and the money on that deal, I don't know that anybody else in baseball was offering close to that. I think there was some overpay there for sure. And again, that just brings us back. They're walking it back and trying to find balance and be a more complete team. And that's hard when they've done the big push on the front end. But the factor that always is at play is it's AJ Preller. So you have no idea what's going to happen. Anybody who thinks they know, I mean, they could do the Soto deal and turn around and have a mind-blowing signing in a week that nobody saw coming. Partly because that money was freed up, but you just don't know. Every time we think we know what he's going to do or not do, most people are wrong. So it's there might not be a more critical offseason given kind of the juncture they're at. And again, it's not just one move. If the Juan Soto deal happens today, there needs to be multiple moves, between now and spring training for this team to really think about competing.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I don't want to keep you too long, Bryce. I have one more question, and this is about Peter Seidler. Can you just go through some of the stuff that you wrote after Peter Seidler's passing about the late night walks and just how great of a human being he was? I know everyone's focused on the Soto stuff right now, and I'm definitely going to get back to that. But with Bryce here, I think it's really important. Someone that I have met like once, a very brief talk, and asked for a picture, and he was so nice. It was before the postseason series, Dodgers Padres, or before one of the games. No Dodger blue in the house. He saw a blue Sharpie and was like, "No Dodger blue in the house. I'll get you a brown pen." Just such a nice human being. Someone that would reply to fan emails, like little things like that. And then the stuff that he did in the community was so great.
Yeah.
What's like a big story? Is it the midnight walks? What stands out to you?
Well, there were so many of them. Sometimes he'd just if you wanted to talk to him and meet you, he'd like walking around the park during a game. So sometimes you just walk around Petco and he'd have conversations. Some people, even back then, fewer people knew who he was. He became as known as the players by the end, just because he had worked so hard and spent so much money to try to compete in this town. It's almost like he had achieved which he didn't want any level of fame compared to players, because he was a pretty humble man. But yeah, he would talk about his efforts with the homeless. I walked around with he and his brother, Tom Seidler, in the, around the park, Imperial, some of the homeless areas, talking to people. They would do that. I've been in meetings where they had a group that met weekly with local leaders who were trying to take on homeless issues in the community, and they were making strides. But he said he liked it partly for his health. He needed the exercise too, but he would walk around Pacific Beach up and down the boardwalk late at night. And I went on a couple of those walks with him, and, we'd walk into the 7-Eleven by PB Ale House there, and he would just, he didn't stand out. I mean, he looked like just average Joe kind of guy walking into the 7-Eleven, but he'd grab a couple hot dogs and bring them out to the guys sitting out front at 7-Eleven, but you could tell none of it was made up or contrived, because the night manager would say behind the desk, "Hey, my man," obviously had seen him before. He had been in there, recognized him. And we'd spend a lot of time walking down the boardwalk talking about things. But if he saw somebody who was homeless, he would check in on them and say, "Hey, how you doing? Everything okay?" And I saw this so many times. It wasn't the value of what he was. Very disarming. He just had a really incredible soft touch where he could approach a stranger like that and they didn't freak out. There was a warmth there that felt genuine, I think. And you got a lot of people that a value that we sometimes forget about when you see people who are less fortunate. They just want seen and heard. They want acknowledged as people. They want they want to talk to somebody. They want to, they don't want you to rush past and ignore. And he did that. He engaged. He would have conversations. He would among his best skills, which you don't see with people with a lot of power and money and, somebody who owns a professional franchise, just an incredible listener. He would listen, and the power of that gets lost in this era today where we all bark and argue with each other, and do people truly listen anymore? And he was kind of the master at the power of listening. He did it all the time. But I'm even thinking, I wrote a story about opening day. There was a battlefield nurse from the Vietnam War who had PTSD, and he heard that story, and her and her son were going to miss opening day for the first time. Tickets were getting harder to get. And he got a hold of me and he said, I'm going to have him in the owner's box with me. He goes, I don't want you writing about it. I didn't write about it. I wanted to. But her and her son didn't miss opening day because he said, well, I know where I can find a few seats. They can sit in the box with me. And he did lots of things like that he didn't want attention for. So you just saw, probably in summary, you just saw this kindness at all turns with Peter Seidler that felt uncommon to me. Just as a person, it felt uncommon, but especially for somebody who is, we hear all the stories of, the Oakland A's hated owners who are moving teams and pinching pennies and don't care about their communities. He was the polar opposite of all that. And so that was one of the many reasons Peter Seidler was an incredible person and why it's such a huge loss to San Diego.
For sure. Yeah. Beautiful stuff right there from Bryce Miller. Bryce, thank you so much for the time. We could definitely use more Peter Seidlers in the world for sure. Just, again, seemed like such a great human being. And it wasn't just about the Padres. It was more than that, right? The Padres, we all love the Padres, and it's great and it's entertaining and we have a love for it. But what is more important, obviously, is him impacting people's lives like that. And so, yeah, I just hope that, everyone every day when they have a chance, they can take that inner Peter Seidler in them and bring that out in the community with other people. So hopefully, he, and I know he did, spreaded that positivity to a lot of people here, and his legacy can continue to live on. So thank you again so much, Bryce, for the time. I appreciate it.
Yep, no doubt. And he tried like crazy to win here, and the city loved him for that.
Yes, for sure. All right, have a great one, Bryce.
Okay,
everyone, please check out his work, San Diego Union Tribune. Him, Kevin Acee, Jeff Sanders, great stuff there. They will have you covered for this potential Juan Soto deal that feels like it's going to go down maybe at any moment. The plan is for me to stay on here until that move happens, but who knows? Maybe the deal won't happen, and I'm going to be on here for a couple of hours, and then a laptop will die, and then I won't be able to do it, but I'm going to stay on as long as I can until this Soto deal is done. Again, this was like 9 a.m., I want to say, somewhere around there. A lot of people, reporters, saying a deal is close. Michael King, Kevin Acee reports Michael King expected to be in the deal. We'll see about Drew Thorpe. That is someone that Jack Curry of the Yes Network said to look out for. So we'll see. I'm going to go through the chat here, obviously, and I'm going to start with the super chat here. If you want to get to the front of the line, because it separates it into a totally different category, supports the channel, I definitely appreciate anyone that does that. Compass Sparky here says, need the Martian in the trade. AJ has to make it hurt. I think he's talking about Jason Dominguez there. And Jason Dominguez is not going to be in this deal. I'm very confident in saying that Jason Dominguez is not going to be in this deal. If he was going to be in this deal, I think we would have heard of his name being in these talks. But what we're hearing is pitching. We're hearing Michael King. We're hearing Drew Thorpe, Clark Schmidt, Chase Hampton. We're hearing those names. Randy Vasquez, Johnny Brito. Those are the names that we're hearing. So I'd be surprised if I'd be shocked if Spencer Jones is included, if Jason Dominguez is included. I just don't see that happening. Now, the AJ has to make it hurt part, I think he will do that. By getting Drew Thorpe, by getting Michael King, I think that does make it hurt for the Yankees. Yankees fans will be like, oh, whatever. Sure, it sucks giving up Michael King, but we have Juan Soto. Like how we are. right? Or how we were when we acquired Juan Soto from the Washington Nationals. How were we feeling? We were just excited that we had Juan Soto and Josh Bell, but mainly Juan Soto for 3 pennant races is what we thought at the time, right? Yeah, it sucks to give up Mackenzie Gore and CJ Abrams and Robert Hassel and James Wood and Yarlin Susanna, but that was the cost of doing business. And the Padres were trying to win right then and there, and they went for it. And I love that about AJ Preller, that he wasn't afraid. There were a lot of GMs that were afraid to give up that much, but AJ said, no, I'm trying to win. I'm going to go do this. And it hasn't worked out. And they made some moves that have prevented the Padres from being in position to have Juan Soto on their roster and be able to spend in other spots to have more a complete roster. And so they got to deal Soto here. 1 year left of control. They're not going to bring him back in free agency. Get something back for him. Not just something, but some impactful arms, hopefully, back for Juan Soto. And you, like I said earlier with Bryce Miller, you make the most out of the situation. You can't go back now. Make the most out of it. And making it hurt, I think AJ will make it hurt. I think Drew Thorpe, their top pitching prospect, someone they don't want to give up, that's going to hurt them. Michael King, someone that's in their rotation right now, that's going to hurt. He's the better of the two between him and Clark Schmidt. So I think he's going to make it hurt as much as he can to the New York Yankees. And that's what AJ has to do. If he can't get Thorpe or King out of him right now, then don't make the deal. But eventually I feel like he will. Brennan Cuddy of, I believe it, NJ Media or something. He writes for NJ News, I think. No. He writes for The Athletic. I think he used to write for that. He writes for The Athletic now. But he said Yankees softening on the idea of surrendering Michael King. They're also more willing to include Drew Thorpe, I'm told, though it's unclear whether they would do both at the same time. If they're not going to do both at the same time, AJ, you can wait. You don't have to do the deal right now. You can wait. So I don't know if a deal is going to get done right now, but that's what everyone is saying, that a deal is close. Brennan Cuddy says here, not to be super alarmist, but if someone were to say this Yankees-Padres Juan Soto deal was on the 1 yard line, I'm getting the feeling it's more like that half a yard line. So it is very close right now. Hopefully I'm not missing anything on social media. If I am, put it in the chat. But I'm going to go through the chat here after this quick break. What are Padres fans, probably some Yankees fans are in here, what are you all thinking about Juan Soto almost about to be traded to the New York Yankees? Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, let's get to the chat. By the way, I'm going to put a link if you want to join the show to give your thoughts on this deal. I'm going to give you that link here. I'm going to put it in the chat. I have just posted the link. So if you want to join the show, let me try to pin this to the top of the chat here so everyone can see the link here. Or I started. I don't know what that does for the YouTube chat. Does that show it on YouTube? I don't know if it does. Maybe that pins it to the chat. I'm not sure. But I started. So just scroll down if you don't see it. But you'll see the link there. All right, Alex says, I feel like this deal is going to happen when you're live. That's why I went live, because I'm seeing all these tweets. Oh, it's close. It's close. It's close. No deal has happened. I was hoping that it was going to break when Bryce Miller was on, because I think getting his perspective would have been great. But, I mean, what did I do? We talked for 40 minutes there and nothing happened? It's just close. Eric says here, New York media says the deal is done, just waiting on medicals. Yeah, and the medicals could take a little bit. Juan Soto, the Yankees are going to want to check on him. And the Padres, more importantly, are going to want to check on the pitchers, because it's multiple years of control. Drew Thorpe, you want to check on his health. Michael King, you're definitely going to want to check on his health if he's going to be in the rotation for you. So, yeah, medicals might take a little bit, because who knows where the players are. I don't know. Do they? I don't know if they. I don't think they have to take a physical before the deal. Maybe they do before it gets final. They probably do before it gets finalized, or the Padres have to send over the medicals on Juan Soto to the Yankees, and then the Yankees doctors and stuff, they look it over and then they approve it. Then there's physicals, and then it doesn't officially get finalized until the physicals are taken. But as long as the medicals look good, then they go through with the deal. I don't know if that's probably what is taking place right now, but we don't know what the actual names of the deal are. Other than Juan Soto, Michael King to the Padres, I think. I mean, Kevin Acey says expected to be in there. Other New York writers expected to be in there is Michael King. I'd be surprised if Drew Thorpe's not in there. I mean, if they're this close, Yankees, just give up Drew Thorpe. Give Thorpe up. I know Yankees fans would say give Thorpe up. You're this close. If they're this close and they don't get Juan Soto, imagine what the reaction is going to be from Yankees fans. They're going to be so pissed off because right now they're all thinking that Juan Soto's a Yankee. I mean, talking Yanks right now, I saw their tweet. Let me look up their latest tweet. I think their latest tweet was, we're going live till Juan Soto's a Yankee. So they could be going live for a long time. You know, like Yankees fans think that they have Juan Soto. John Boy tweeted out, so King, Thorpe, Brito, Vasquez, and Higgy for Soto and maybe another Padre. Let's review that. King, Thorpe, yes. Brito, Vasquez, okay. And Higgy. I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable. Do the Padres want Kyle Higashioka? If you're the Yankees, Higgy does not prevent you from making this deal with the Padres, right? To get Juan Soto and maybe another Padre. King and Thorpe should not prevent it. I mean, if you want Juan Soto, I get it. You don't want to give up Michael King, but that's the price of doing business. The Padres aren't asking for Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones. No, they're just saying, hey, Michael King, starter. We need starting pitching. Give us Michael King over Clark Schmidt. We're giving you Juan Soto. We're not giving you Josh Bell. Nothing against Josh Bell, but he's not Juan Soto. We're giving you Juan Soto. You know, give us the better of the two pitchers. So, yeah, Yankee fans are going to be absolutely pissed if this deal doesn't get done. And it feels like it's so far along that it is done, that they're just finalizing the details here. Uriel says, I like the names I'm hearing, and I'm glad AJ is sticking to his guns. I love Soto, but love the Padres more. Pitching is what we need. Yeah, and of course, I'd love to have Juan Soto in this Padres lineup. He's a great hitter, but I think that there's still talent already on this Padres team, and they're not going to bring him back long term. They don't have enough pitching, nearly enough pitching. They need pitching. And the Yankees, I think, had the best package to provide to the Padres in terms of big league pitching and top prospect pitching. The Blue Jays could give you Alek Manoah, but he struggled last year. Michael King didn't. And so there would be a question mark with Manoah there. And there's Ricky Tiedemann that they could give you. But maybe they're not willing to give up Ricky Tiedemann because for the Blue Jays, he might be their Jason Dominguez. He's their number one prospect, where Drew Thorpe is not the Yankees' number one prospect. That's Jason Dominguez. That's Spencer Jones. So, like the Mariners, they weren't even, I was thinking for a minute, oh, they're clearing salary, maybe Soto. But then I realized it's the Seattle Mariners. Like, that would suck to be a Mariners fan because you're trimming this salary and you know you're not going to get Ohtani. You're not going to get Juan Soto because the Seattle Mariners wouldn't do that. They wouldn't acquire Juan Soto for 1 year, take on $30+ million for 1 year. You're not bringing him back in free agency. And then you traded young pitching away that would help you in the future. Like, they're not a team that has a $200+ million payroll every year. That's not who Seattle is. And they cleared up this money, but they have a bunch of different holes. It's not like they're a Juan Soto away from being a World Series contending team. They've got other holes to fill. So I feel like for them, it's more Randy Rosarena, Isaac Paredes, someone like that. That could be the Padres as well. They could trade Soto. They're not trading for Verdugo, according to reports. They acquire someone like Randy Rosarena from the Rays. Padre fans would be probably ecstatic about that. Yeah, you still want Juan Soto, but that would be a pretty good left fielder to have, I would say. I remember when the Rays were in town this past season, he was sitting there during a pitching change, signing autographs at the wall. And I think he was doing that during the World Baseball Classic as well. Like, he's just different. He's a interesting personality. So, and he's a good baseball player. I don't want to make it seem like he's not. What did he do last year here? And it's multiple years of control, right? It's not a huge salary. He had a 120 OPS plus this past year. Over 20 bombs, 23 home runs, a 3.5 WAR, according to Baseball Reference, 789 OPS. Rookie of the Year, All-Star, ALCS MVP in 2020, obviously. I mean, yeah, you're going to take that if you're the Padres. But what do the Rays want in return? Like, I'm very interested in seeing what the Padres do, because we're all anticipating this Juan Soto deal. We're all waiting this whole offseason. When is it going to happen? It was a question of, is it going to happen? Are they going to do it? But then for like the last couple weeks, it feels like, or maybe it's been a week, I don't know. Time is going by really slow right now because I'm just waiting for this Soto deal to happen. But it's been recently like, it's going to happen. When is it going to happen? Not if, but when. Like Ken Rosenthal wrote in The Athletic. When is it going to happen? And so we're just waiting. And now, if Soto gets traded, what are they going to do outfield-wise? Are they going to bring in someone from the Cardinals? I think the Brewers have an excess of outfielders. Is it going to be the free agent route on a one-year deal? Are they going to bring back Jerks and Profar? I'm not saying to start every day, but bring him back. Does this give them the room to go bring back Gary Sanchez and guarantee that? Starting pitching still needs to be the priority, pitching overall. But what are they going to go do now with more money to spend for a starting pitcher than they had before Soto got dealt, you know? And Michael King, let me look at Michael King's contract here. So he's projected to make $3.1 million in 2024. Arbitration eligible, his final year before free agency is 2025. So that's nothing. For Michael King, for your 3 or 4 starter, that's nothing for a rotation guy. So you have him for this year and for 2025. I should say this next season and 2025 before he hits free agency. So that's like $30 million of room around that. Let's say he gets $3 million, $33 million was the expected for Soto. That's $30 million of room more. And you got a starting pitcher who had a sub-3 ERA this past year to your rotation. You're adding that to your rotation. $30 million to go spend plus the 11 of room, right? Because that's what you have now. You have that room, 41 mil to go spend to get to 200 for starting pitching, for bats, for depth. It's going to be interesting to see what AJ Preller does here. Does Jake Cronenworth get moved? Does Trent Grisham get moved? That opens up more room. So again, like this Soto trade here is a huge domino. It's a big domino to fall. And then all the other dominoes, the dominoes are stacked up right now. They're just stacked up on the table, just sitting there. And then once Preller and Cashman, boop, hit that domino, then I feel like everything else can go. Let's see here. Others in the chat. Ariel says Cronenworth is untouchable with his $80 million contract. I don't think he's untouchable. I mean, I feel like they're having conversations with other teams about Jake, but you're not going to get a whole lot back. And it's probably going to be viewed as a salary dump by a lot of people. I still believe, like Bryce Miller, that Jake can bounce back. But first base, that's not his best position. That's not where he provides the most value to the Padres. But they put themselves in this spot when they went out and gave Xander Bogaerts a $280 million contract. They were going to have Bogaerts play short. Kim's at second. He doesn't play first, so Crony goes over to first. And he's not Freddie Freeman. He's not Pete Alonso. He's not going to hit you 30, 40 home runs a year. That's just not who he is. And so his value decreases dramatically. And then when he's not even doing what he normally does, he's not even the 2020 or 2021 Cronenworth or 2022 Cronenworth. He's worse than that. Even if he was at second base, he wouldn't have been as that helpful offensively to the Padres this past year, value-wise. It makes it even worse. Eric says, totally agree. Put Cronenworth back at second. See if he has a good year again. Okay, then but where's Ha-Seong Kim going to play? Are you trading Ha-Seong Kim? He has value. I think you would get way more suitors for Kim than you did for Soto because it's 1 year. He can play multiple positions. He had a really good season, and it's $7 million or whatever. I think it's something like $7 million for 1 year. It's not $30+ million. And then you have to give up the Padres are asking for 5 arms, That's not what they'd be asking for in a Ha-Seong Kim deal. But are you getting better by trading Ha-Seong Kim when he was one of your better players this past year? But you can make the case, well, Ben, Juan Soto was one of your better players this past year. And that's true. But what you could get back for Juan Soto and the money that he was making, you can make the case that, yeah, they're getting more of a complete roster by trading Juan Soto. Ha-Seong Kim, because he can fill so many roles, Juan Soto doesn't do that. Offensively, yeah, he's great, but he's limited defensively. And, he can DH for you, I guess, if you need him to. But Ha-Seong Kim can play short. He can play third. He can play second. He can hit at the bottom of the order, the top of the order. He's so valuable. And I go back to how much money he's making. Like, that's someone that you want on the 2024 Padres, right? We got another tweet here from John Heyman. Yankees and Padres are working to finalize Juan Soto deal perhaps today. King and Thorpe expected to be part of the package heading to San Diego. Thank you. Please, if they're not included, that's probably going to piss me off. Because we're hearing reports, expect King and Thorpe. Those were the best two, at least right now, what we're thinking. Those were the two the Padres wanted. So if you can get that, that means that you stayed strong, AJ. The Padres stayed strong and made the Yankees get desperate. They made the Yankees say, screw it, we're giving up these guys. Because they didn't want to give up. They don't want to give up Thorpe. They don't want to give up Michael King. But that's the price of doing business here. The price of doing business. When you're getting Juan Soto, then you're going to have to give up something. It's going to have to hurt, like a previous commenter said here. Adam Dixon with the super sticker. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. If you have a comment, just leave it in the chat. I'll eventually get there. Yuki says, hey, Ben, what's up? Hopefully everyone is doing well. I know some fans don't want Soto gone, but the Padres have to make the best out of the situation considering the circumstances that they're in. Pedro says, hey, Soto dug his own grave, had a couple great years as a Padre, didn't really help us in the grand scheme of things. I disagree with that. He helped in the postseason. And last year, he was the Padres' best offensive player, had an OPS over 900. As Scott Boras made sure to tell everyone at the GM meetings, he was the one Padre with a 900+ OPS. So I think he helped. Did I like the quitting quote? No. There are things that I didn't like about Juan Soto. But you want Juan Soto in your lineup. He helps your team. He helps your baseball team. He helps your offense. So didn't really help us in the grand scheme of things. I disagree with that. I think he did. He hit 35 home runs this past year, career high in home runs. He played 162 games for the Padres this past year. Could he have come up better in clutch situations? Yeah. But I thought he hit, if I remember correctly, he was actually one of the better Padres with runners in scoring position this past year. I think it was Manny that was crap. And probably Cronenworth, I would guess. Bogarts probably. I think Soto was pretty darn good with runners in scoring position. So I disagree. Now, if we want to look at the Soto trade, the Nationals Padres trade, yeah, that was a failure. That trade was a failure. Yeah. It was only going to be a success if the Padres made it to the World Series or won the World Series. Sure, they got a long postseason run there in 2022, and that's great. But you missed the postseason in 2023. You're not even going to have them on your team in 2024. You didn't even make it through the Nationals contract. when you said on the opening press conference, getting Soto and Josh Bell with his gigantic shoulders, that's what I remember from that press conference. Preller was like, yeah, 3 pennant races. You didn't do it. You got one. And you gave up your number 1 prospect, your number 2 prospect, I think, your number 3 and number 5, I want to say. It was for the top 5 prospects. James Wood, Robert Hassel III, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, and then you gave up number 19, Yarlin Susana, and I'm talking about prospects to start the 2022 season, because I know Abrams and Gore were up at the big league level, but you gave up that, and they gave up Luke Voigt, but whatever. I understand that. You got Josh Bell back. Susana and Voigt, I think, was the Josh Bell part. But yeah, you acquired Juan Soto to go win a World Series, and you didn't do it. And in the most hyped season in Padres history, it ended up being the most disappointing season in Padres history. You missed the postseason. So it's not really like Juan Soto's fault, because he still, sure, it was a little bit of a disappointing season for Soto, but he still was like the Padres' best offensive player this past year. And he still helped the Padres in 2022 in the postseason. It's not really Soto. It's just that results. It's a results-based business. And the Washington Nationals have won this trade because the Padres are trading Juan Soto here. And the Nationals now will have Mackenzie Gore in their rotation. They have Robert Hassel III and James Wood coming up to be in their outfield long-term on rookie contracts. They have Yarlin Susana, who struggled, but we'll see what happens there out of him. Who did I not mention? Wood, Hassel, they have Abrams, who I think is only going to get stronger, and he'll be their shortstop, it seems like, or at least be in their infield for years to come. He's on a rookie contract. So yeah, the Nationals are smiling. They won a World Series, and they got all of this talent back in a Juan Soto deal. And they knew they weren't going to bring Soto back in free agency in a few years. And the Padres, what do? They had to give up all of that, and they got no World Series out of it. Yeah, the Nationals won it. And it sucks. Now, I would have still done the trade. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here in hindsight trying to bash Preller. Like, why would you make this deal? I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you, like, the Nationals have won this deal. Now, you could say, well, the Padres turned Juan Soto into not a World Series with him, but they turned him into Michael King and Drew Thorpe and some others. And if they go win the World Series, then we could, spin it as, well, they won a World Series, and these guys that they got back in the Soto trade to the Yankees helped the Padres go win the World Series. You could spin that. But right now, the Padres did not win this trade. Like, no doubt about that. Chad says here, who will break the Soto trade news? Probably, I want to say Passan, because that's like the safe one. But I feel like it will be Andy Martino. He's dialed in. Andy Martino or Jack Curry. Those are New York reporters, though. Jack Curry, Yes Network. Andy Martino, SNY. I feel like someone like that will be like, it's done. And that'll like be the tweet. It's done. Maybe they won't break the entire package and someone else will. But I feel like it's going to be a New York guy. Because once the Yankees do it, they're going to be so excited that they got Juan Soto. They're going to want to share it with everyone. Eric asks here, why did he dig his own grave by having a good season, but the Padres still didn't make the playoff? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I disagree with Pedro there about him digging his own grave. I mean, he was the Padres' best offensive player. And I know he was underwhelming when he first got here, but he still helped the Padres in the postseason that year. And yeah, he was a little bit disappointing in 2023, but I don't think he was the reason why the Padres missed the postseason. I blame others like Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado for having down years. And some of it was injury. Like, I'm not just going to, bash them and be like, no, I don't care about the injuries. Like, that's part of it. But needed to step up. Jake Cronenworth, you throw in there. guys needed to step up, and they didn't. And some of the signings that AJ made with Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz were expected to do something, and they didn't really do anything. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch more people that I can point to why the Padres missed the postseason this past year than to just point to Juan Soto. That's definitely not the guy I'm pointing to. Match Cut says here, no compromise. If it's not King Thorpe, then just roll the dice with one more year of Soto. Soto's going to get dealt. Yeah, I don't think we're at that. I don't think Soto's staying. If it's not King Thorpe, then just don't trade Soto today. The Yankees at one point, I feel like they're going to have to give up King and Thorpe. They're going to surrender and be like, yep, okay, he got us. We want Juan Soto. We're so desperate. Here you go. Here's King and Thorpe and some other guys. They're going to do it, I feel like. Let's see here. Cardinals have hired Yadi Molina as special assistant to the president of baseball operations. There was some like social media chatter, some fans wanting Yadi to be a coach for Mike Schilt. That coaching staff still has not been named yet. Brian Hoke here, who writes for MLB.com about the Yankees, he spoke with Scott Boras. And I'm trying to find the quote here. Brian Hoke. He asked Scott Boras about if he would be open to an extension at Yankee Stadium. Is Juan Soto open to an extension if traded? Scott Boras says, right now, Juan's a San Diego Padre. We haven't talked about anything. Boras said that Soto is an offense among himself and would have a dramatic impact on any franchise. And he's using the words that AJ used to the media earlier this week. AJ said that. Like he said something like offense among just himself. Just himself, he's an offense. And obviously that's Soto's agent, so he's going to play up Juan Soto and say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he's very talented. Very talented. I'm not saying that he's not. But I'm just trying to make the point, like, take a little bit what Scott says with a grain of salt because he represents Juan Soto. And yeah, right now Juan's a San Diego Padre. They're not going to talk about the Yankees because he's not on the Yankees right now. But I don't believe, have the Padres, and this is, I guess, a question, I don't know if this has been asked by anyone, but have the Padres offered Juan Soto an extension of any kind? Do they just not want to disrespect him, and so they're not going to offer him, like, I don't know, $400 million or $440 or $450 because they know he's going to say no? Are they in a position to even offer him an extension like that in case he does take it and then they'd be screwed? Because I haven't heard of any extension offer, even a low ball. I haven't heard of anything because I think they realize, yeah, there's no chance. We don't even want to offer anything because what if he accepts it somehow? Or we know he's not going to accept it. We just don't want to insult him or have him see it as disrespectful. So we're just not going to offer. Same thing with the Brewers are doing with Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes was on Foul Territory, the YouTube show, talking with the guys there. And I think he said about that same thing. Like the Brewers, they haven't had extension talks, Corbin Burnes in Milwaukee, because Milwaukee doesn't want to make an insulting offer. And they know that Burnes is going to go to free agency. They can't afford him. And so they just haven't really gotten to that. Or they won't get to that. And that's what it feels like with the Padres here. Ben with the super chat here. Thank you so much. Again, anyone with super chats, it makes it very easy for me to see your comment. So I will jump you to the front of the line. I appreciate all the support. Ben says, Thorpe, Soto, 2 others for Soto. Hopefully Crony and Grish added to it. We will need to sign Kim with Soto money. Kim was the second best player last year, LFGSD. I think you mean Thorpe, King, and 2 others for Soto. Hopefully Crony and Grish added to it. They're not going to be added to it because the Yankees just acquired Alex Verdugo. And I guess they're prepared to have Judge play center with Verdugo in right, Soto in left. it doesn't look like they're trying to flip. John Morosi said Verdugo's not going to be included in the trade to the Padres. So Grish, that eliminates Grish from being traded to the Yankees, I think. Because they can go get a cheap outfielder to go be the backup center field option and then wait for Jason Dominguez to come back in August or whatever from the UCL injury, right? Crony, I don't see him being added to it either. That would lessen the return from the Padres. That would probably make the Yankees be like, no, we're not including King and Thorpe then. If you're making us take on a salary dump, because Crony's coming off a bad year, the extension hasn't even started yet. You're making us take on the Cronenworth contract, then we're not giving you Thorpe and King. We'll give you one. We're not giving you both. So Crony could get moved, but I don't see it being to the Yankees. Maybe it's Soto and a prospect that goes to the Yankees. Would it be Soto and is there a chance that Carpenter gets added on that? I don't know. Because I know Carpenter, it's 1 year, it's $5 million, like that's nothing for the Yankees. They're already over, I think, the second luxury tax threshold number. So they're going all in here. They're kind of in the situation the Padres were in this past year with their payroll. So maybe the Padres can find a way. We're so close to the finish line. We're so close. Just take on Carpenter's deal, please. Maybe the Yankees would do that. Maybe the Padres would get one less prospect back, but they could still get King, Thorpe, and another one. I don't know. But yeah, Thorpe and King, like I said earlier, if the Yankees don't want to do that, then just don't make the deal today. I feel like the Yankees, they're going to do it at some point. They're just trying to give up as the smallest package that they have to give up, obviously. All right, I don't have my charger here with me, so hopefully my laptop doesn't die here before the Soto deal is made. It's at 27% right now. So we'll see. I do have another device here that I guess I could log on to if it does end up dying. Because it feels like the Soto trade's going to happen here at any moment. And we're waiting for the medicals, I think. And waiting for the full trade to happen. Pedro says, I like the Vladdy swap scenario if Toronto was in play. Well, that's not going to. They're not going to. If they acquire Soto, they want Vladdy in the middle of the lineup with him because they're trying to go all in and win for 2024. Bob Nightingale just released an article. Let's see if he has any information. The San Diego Padres and New York Yankees nearing a blockbuster deal that would send Juan Soto to the Bronx. And although a trade has not been finalized, two persons with direct knowledge of the talks said Wednesday there is significant momentum. Scott Boras said Wednesday that he had not been informed by the Padres that a deal is on the verge of being finalized, but has no doubts that Soto would thrive with the Yankees. Of course, he's going to say that. And he probably will thrive. Walkier, Yankee Stadium, more friendly than Petco Park is, I believe. Hitters-wise, yeah, he probably would thrive there. Boras says he does have a number of ballparks he hits well in, but Yankee Stadium is one of them. If my memory serves me correctly, it would be safe to say that it's one of his favorite ballparks to hit. When you're Juan Soto, you kind of show up in every ballpark's a favorite, but I know he hits well there. 7 games at Yankee Stadium, 1.219 OPS. Pretty darn good. He homered there this past year with the Padres, right? I think it was right after Tatis did. Maybe it was right before. I forget. 9 runs driven in 23 at-bats. 826 slugging percentage at Yankee Stadium. Yankees Padres, according to Nightingale, now are starting to find middle ground. One executive involved with the talks told USA Today. Padres originally asked for Michael King, Clark Schmidt, Clark with an E, but Nightingale spells it wrong here. Drew Thorpe, Randy Vasquez, Johnny Brito, and 2 prospects, while also taking on Trent Grisham and his projected $6 million salary. Grisham is no longer in the talks, which isn't surprising because Verdugo was acquired by the Yanks last night. And the Padres no longer are insisting on including Michael King, Clark Schmidt, Andrew Thorpe, their prize prospects, all in the same deal. But it feels like the Padres are insisting, I'm not reading this from Nightingale, but it seems like the Padres are insisting King and Thorpe, just not King, Schmidt, and Thorpe. Because I think they realize, like, that's a lot of depth that you're giving up there. That's 2 starters that they're giving up. One, okay. The Padres badly need pitching. They lost free agent Nick Martinez, not expected to bring back Blake Snell and Seth Lugo, who are free agents. They have no plans to retain free agent closer Josh Hader. Brian Cashman, GM of the Yankees, said he's one of the best hitters in the game, talking about Soto. He's an impact, period. But currently, he's an impact for somebody else. Well, he's about to be an impact for the New York Yankees, is what it seems like is happening, and we are just totally waiting on this. Imagine if a deal doesn't get done. Both fan bases, Padres and Yankees fans, were waiting for a deal to get done. And imagine there's a hiccup in the deal, or the Yankees, for some reason, pull back on King and Thorpe, and the Padres don't make the deal. And then Shohei signs with someone, and then the Padres trade him to the Blue Jays. That would be so painful for Yankees fans, because they're already imagining, like I think a lot of Yankees fans already think that, yeah, Soto's a Padre because of Jack Curry, his reports, Brendan Cuddy, national reporters, just waiting on it to be finalized. Like, everyone is saying, deal's close, deal's close, deal's close. David says, man, I want Jason Dominguez, 2 S's in Jason, not 1. But it's not realistic. It's not. I don't care what anyone says. It's not realistic. Jones is a must in the trade. Red Devil NC says that's not realistic either. Chorizo says Jones or Pereira must be in the trade. Pereira is realistic, but it doesn't seem like the Padres want to do that. It feels like they want to get all the pitching that they can. And maybe they're not that high on Everson Pereira. And they're probably like, hey, let's just bring back Profar then. He can play left field. Let's just bring Profar back. Let's not lessen the pitching package back. Let's just go bring back Profar on a 1-year deal instead of bringing in Everson Pereira to maybe be the 4th outfielder on the team, because he'd have to be on the 40-man. He doesn't have power, at least what he has shown in the big leagues. He doesn't have power. So, yeah, I don't know how high the Padres are on someone like Everson Pereira. But Oswaldo Cabrera is someone that can play infield and outfield, but those names are not in the talks, Pereira or Cabrera. The Padres, it really does feel like they want to maximize the pitching in this deal. No doubt about it. Red Devil NC says, cannot give up Soto for a bunch of glorified middle relievers or setup guys. I have seen that by Padres fans. That's a thought. Like, you're giving up Juan Soto for Michael King, a guy that hasn't proved that he can be a starter. But even if he's not a starter, like, that's an impact reliever that you're trading for. And you're trading for the Yankees' top pitching prospect. Now, I know you want to win right now, but also, like Bryce Miller said when he was on the show earlier, let's say Michael King doesn't work out that much in the rotation, but he can be in the bullpen. And he's an impact there. Drew Thorpe, he's not ready now. But also remember, it's not just the pitching package they get back, but what are they going to do after this? They're clearing $30+ million of room with this Soto contract going away. So they can bring in starting pitching, and we can feel better about the rotation at the end of December or end of January going into spring training. But right now, yeah, I understand fans wouldn't be happy about the return if it's not Jason Dominguez on it or Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones. But as a realistic Padre fan, realizing like what the Yankees are willing to give up, how much time the Yankees are going to have Juan Soto guaranteed under contract, I realize that Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez, that's not realistic. So Padres fans, we can ask for those guys, and I'm sure AJ Preller has asked for those guys. Because why not, right? Worst thing that can happen is Brian Cashman says no. So he asked for them. He was told no. He probably was laughed at. You got to be realistic here. If you really want to build a complete roster, more of a complete roster. You need the money. Don't waste your time asking for things that you know is not realistic. Or ask for them and then move on. Don't keep asking for it. And the Padres aren't asking for Dominguez or Jones. According to reports, that's not even, their names aren't even included in it. Yeah, Corbin Burnes is a name that I think is going to come up here after this Soto deal. Will the Padres flip some of these players that they get back? Some of the prospects? Will they trade some of their prospects for Corbin Burnes? Because that would make Padres fans feel a lot better about the rotation, getting Corbin Burnes. But it is 1 year, and the Padres would not be in a spot to bring Corbin Burnes back long term. So if they want to trade for starting pitching, they probably want to trade for starting pitching that's not a 1-year rental. Unless, the return that they give to whatever team for that 1-year rental isn't significant. But for someone like Corbin Burnes on a 1-year deal, yeah, it obviously would be a significant return back to that team. No doubt about that. Match Cut says, terrible money / roster management is going to cost you a generational guy. Yeah. Yeah, making some moves that you didn't have to do, filling positions that were already filled, big contracts, overpays that the entire baseball industry thought were overpays. But you couldn't get, and I'll say this again, some fans might not like this, but the Padres could not guarantee that Juan Soto was going to be there long term. They could guarantee that he was going to be there for 3 pennant races or 3 seasons, but they couldn't guarantee he was going to be there in free agency and sign as a free agent. They could guarantee that Bogarts was going to be there, though. They could guarantee that Manny was going to be here long term. They could guarantee that Crony was, and Darvish, and Musgrove, and Suarez, and Tatis, right? A few years ago. All these deals, they could guarantee that. But it was a timing thing. Like I touched on with Bryce Miller. It was a timing thing. If Soto, would they have Juan Soto long term? If Soto was a free agent last offseason instead of this offseason, would he be a Padre? Because they would have went after Soto over Xander Bogaerts. Maybe. Right? Let's say they would have traded for Soto for that 1 year in 2022. They go to the NLCS. Padres make a huge offer to Soto, like they did to Aaron Judge. But it would have to be bigger to Soto. But you get my point. They make that offer. Soto's going to turn that down? Maybe, because he'd be a free agent. He could go shop. But I think the Padres would have done that. But it's a timing thing. And they wanted to guarantee having the big bats in their lineup, as many as they could, go all in for 2023. And it failed. And now they have Bogarts long term. They have Manny long term. They have Tatis long term. There's a lot of fan bases that would love to have those 3 long term. So bringing it to Peter Seidler optimism, glass half full, there's that. And there's still talent on this offense. There's still some talent on the pitching staff. We just need more of it. Not seeing anything on social media here. I'm not scrolling through Twitter. I'm just looking at the notifications that I have, so I could be missing something, I guess. That's a question as well. Red Devil NC says here, if money was not an issue, do you think Soto even re-signs with us? Does he want to be with the Padres? That's another thing. Where, again, the timing thing with Bogarts, they could see if he wanted to be with the Padres long term, and they could give him a ton of money that no other team would be willing to give him. And they could guarantee having Xander there with a year of Soto. 2 at that time, but that was before the TV deal went away and before Seidler passed away, before they missed the postseason, before they gave Crony a contract extension, before they gave Manny a contract extension. There's a lot of things that happened even after the Xander contract that has led to this point here. Joel Sherman just tweeted of the New York Post. Let me pull up this tweet. Yankees traded 3 starters for Verdugo, and pitching would be at the center of a Soto deal if concluded, and strong chance Mitch Spence goes near the top of the Rule 5 draft. Maybe Matt Sauer's taken too. Their depth is a strength, but also being thin. So that's not really anything about a Padres trade there. That's just the Yankees situation. But again, if you have a chance to get Juan Soto, you give up something that hurts. And giving up King and Thorpe is going to hurt for the Yankees, but it's going to have to hurt. You know, you're getting Juan Soto. Every team would love to have Juan Soto on their team if the salary wasn't $30+ million and you had him under a long-term deal. Just talent-wise, everyone would love to have him. It's going to hurt. We'll see how much it hurts. We'll see what the return is. We'll see how much it hurts. But we're all just in a waiting game. There's still 140 people in here. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in here and just hearing me and Bryce Miller yap it up for 40 minutes and hearing me continue to talk. We're really just killing time here and just trying to wait. Wait for a Juan Soto deal. If you want to join the show, you can click that link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. Or it's not, I don't know if it's at the top of the chat. Let me pin this link again. I'm going to pin it up at the top of the chat if it's not at the top of the chat right now. Hold on one second. Am I really going to have to be on here for a few more hours? Andy Martino just tweeted, sounds like a decent chance the Soto to the Yankees trade will be done within a few hours. Working on details. Jeez. All right. Sorry. Sorry if you heard that audio. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. But I'm just going on the YouTube here and I'm placing the live link, the stream link. If you want to join the show, click this link. I'm pinning it up at the top of the chat right now. It has been pinned. If you have any thoughts, any questions, you're trying to kill time and waiting for this Soto deal, feel free to join the show using that. Uriel says, Padres don't get what they want, keep Soto. Well, again, it goes back to building the complete roster, right? That's what it comes down to. And if you keep Juan Soto, good luck building out a complete pitching staff. And you might build out a complete pitching staff in terms of building out a rotation, but it's probably not going to give Padre fans much confidence in that rotation. Mark says, I saw on MLB that the Padres want to use Cronenworth as a trade chip. That is 100% a contract dump. If the reports and rumors are true, I like the trade package for Soto if it happens. I do too. Realistic. Like the realistic trade package, I like it. I'd rather have King over Schmidt right now. I'd rather have Thorpe over Hampton based on stuff I've read. I haven't really watched him. Not going to act like I know a ton about him, but I trust if the Padres want Thorpe over Hampton, I want Thorpe. If they want King over Schmidt, I want King. And even Yankees fans, like they want King over Schmidt. So that means that we should want King in the deal back over Schmidt. But yeah, that would 100% be a contract dump because the contract hasn't even started yet for Crony. It starts in 2024. Let's see. Chad says Preller chose Xander, Darvish extension, and Crony extension over Soto. Yes. Yeah. Well, remember what Darvish was coming off of in 2022 when he signed that deal. Pretty solid, I believe, if I remember correctly. in 2022. Much better year in terms of consistency and like innings per start. 2022, he had a 3.10 ERA. This past year, 4.56. And I get it, 6 years, that was a lot, but he finished top 10 in the Cy Young in 2022. So, and like rotation wise, they wanted to lock someone down long term. They already had Musgrove, but they wanted Darvish, lower the AAV, and that's what they decided to do. With Bogarts, again, I think it was a timing thing. Xander, $280 million, it was an overpay. We all knew that at the time. Like right when it happened, $280 million for Xander Bogaerts? Holy cow. Yeah, we knew it was an overpay. But Soto was not a free agent at that time. Soto was not going to sign an extension at that time. And the Padres wanted to create the best lineup that they thought possible going into this past season. And again, Bogaerts was not their number one priority. They tried with Aaron Judge. They tried with Trey Turner. And they couldn't get it done. So they went to Xander Bogaerts. I'm sure they tried with Jose Abreu. Probably tried with other guys. Couldn't get it done at the price point that they wanted. So they went to Xander. And yet, like, I agree with anyone that has the thought, like, once they acquired Soto, they should have made every move thinking and preparing to sign Juan Soto long term. But a big question is, did Soto want to be here long term? And was he set on going to free agency regardless of what the Padres offered? Even if they would have offered $500 million, man, that would have really, if I was Soto, speaking for myself, if I was Soto, that would be really hard to turn down, $500 million. But 440 would have been hard to turn down from the Nationals. And he did that as well. And the Padres, extending Soto, I felt like that wasn't clearly, it wasn't their top priority. Has there been any leak that the Padres have offered Soto an extension? Like they've actually offered. Preller can say, and he has said in the past, yeah, we'll talk to Soto, we'll talk to Boras about it. He said it this offseason. But have they actually had a contract offer to Juan Soto? Like, we don't know that. I don't think they have. I don't think that's been out there publicly. So they had other things to do. They had to fill out a pitching staff last year, right? They brought in Lugo. They brought in Walker. They brought in other depth. They brought in Matt Carpenter. They brought in Nelson Cruz. They had other things to do. Bogarts, obviously. They brought in other guys because they wanted to construct the 2023 roster ahead of offering Soto anything, which I understand because Soto's under contract. Make the best team possible while Soto's guaranteed to be a Padre. But you know, a question, we don't know if Soto wants to be here long term. Money talks. Like if the Padres would have offered a ton of money, then maybe Soto would be here long term. And yeah, that was a mistake by the Padres by not offering Soto a huge extension when they already had shortstops and instead going to Bogarts. But maybe, I'm assuming this because we're not in the organization, maybe they knew something more than we did. Maybe they knew that Soto, regardless, was going to go to free agency, regardless of what the offer. Or he didn't want to sign the extension then because he wanted to have a full season with the Padres. I don't know. I'm just making it up. And so the Padres sat there and were like, well, we can't risk this. Let's just go get someone now, and we'll worry about it later. They were probably banking on making the postseason in 2023, which would have brought in a ton of money. They lost the TV deal, which lost them a ton of money. And they have to go get another TV deal now, I guess. So, yeah, some unfortunate things happened. Let's see here. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break, message about Underdog Fantasy. I'm going to run in, because I'm in the garage. I'm going to run in and go get my phone so at least I can stream from there if something dies. So that's what I'm going to do now, okay? So here's that. All right. I want to tell you about the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. It's Underdog Fantasy. They have great pick'em games and best ball tournaments. In pickup games, just pick higher or lower on 2 to 5 players' stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. You can go cross-team, cross-league, and even cross-sport. Best Ball revolves around the draft, which is what every fan loves the most about fantasy, and it eliminates the hassle of having to manage your roster all season long, resulting in a fun and easy fantasy product. How does it work exactly? You enter a contest where you participate in a snake draft against other users. That lineup that you drafted competes against every other draft in the entire contest. The better the combined performance of your team, the more money you win. After your lineup is all played, Underdog will take the best performing players and automatically set them as your starting lineup. That's it. No waivers, no trades, no worrying about who to start or sit. After you complete your draft, your part is done. Underdog Fantasy offers Best Ball in a variety of ways, including daily contests, weekly contests, playoff contests, and season-long contests. You can either enter into these and compete against thousands of other entrants for huge prizes, or, if you'd like, you can enter into a private draft with friends and family to compete for a smaller prize pool. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Sign up now by clicking the link in the description or by using the promo code TALKINGFRIARS, and you'll double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit of $10 or more. So if you deposit $100, you get $100 free. If you deposit $10, you get $10 free. All right, I'm back. Made it. Okay. Double checking social media again here. The Rule 5 draft, I guess, is going on right now. That might be interesting for the Padres because Rule 5 guys would be on, cheap salaries. Yeah, they'd have to be at the big league level, and if they're not, then you have to offer them back to that team that they were on. But just throwing it out there. So we'll see if the Padres pick anyone there. 2 Yankees were selected. Mitch Spence to the A's, Matt Sauer to the Royals. So I guess some more of their pitching is gone there. All right, getting back to the chat here. If you want to join the show again, you can click that link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. The Padres just selected someone in the Rule 5 draft. And it's a pitcher. Steven Kolek from the Mariners. Steven Kolek is the newest Padre. Rule 5 draft. Steven Kolek. Some of you don't care about whoever this guy is. And I've never heard of this guy either. But I'm obviously a diehard Padres fan, so I follow pretty much everything here. So he's 26 years old, 3.76 ERA this past year in the minor leagues, 49 games. He's a reliever, 1 start, 69 1/3 innings. He had a 1.21 whip, and so he'll be at Padres spring training. I don't believe he's pitched in the big leagues before. Oh, no, maybe he has. No, it says he hasn't. Okay, so right-handed pitcher, 26 years old, and can be a relief option for the Padres if he shows something in spring training. So there you go. Brent says, getting a package headlined by King and Thorpe is another L by a LGM. King is a 29-year-old reliever with 2 years of control. Yes, but he would be a starter for the Padres. And as a starter this past year, he performed really well. Not a guarantee that he would perform really well with the Padres. I understand that. But he is the better of the two between King and Schmidt. And I know Padres fans, when you give up Juan Soto and Michael King is the big guy, yeah, you're like, what are we doing? But this is the Padres' situation here, and they're just trying to make the best of the situation. Other teams aren't willing to give up a big league starter in the rotation, a top pitching prospect, and more, and take on $30 million in the Juan Soto salary for 1 year with the risk, some teams probably the guarantee that he's not going to come back after 2024. Some teams are not willing to do that. And if the Padres want more of a complete roster, they have to trade Soto, get the flexibility. You can get back as much as you can from the Yankees, and then you have some more room to go get more of a complete roster. It's just considering the circumstances, this is the best that they're going to be able to do. And like again, I'm super interested in seeing what the Padres do after a Juan Soto deal. Once the money comes off, then what are the moves that are going to happen? Because then that's how we're obviously going to see how this Padres team is going to try to construct as complete of a roster that they can going into spring training in 2024. Red Devil NC says, if King and Thorpe are your headliners, they better be taking Crone too, and even then, it's still a loss. I don't think they're going to take Crone. I don't think the Padres would want the Yankees to take Crone. Maybe they would. But you're lessening the return. If you're trading Juan Soto, you're not going to have this opportunity again to trade Juan Soto. So maximize the return. Absolutely maximize the return. Don't try to diminish it by attaching someone. Try to trade someone, try to trade that person in another deal is what I would try to do. Greedy87 says Padres might as well go into a full rebuild. Come on. It's not, this is nowhere close. They're still going to have a $200 million payroll in 2024. This is not a Manny Machado is on this team. Xander Bogaerts is on this team. Fernando Tatis Jr. is on this team. Luis Camposano is on this team. Ah-Sung Kim's on this team. Joe Musgrove's on this team. Robert Suarez is on this team. Yu Darvish is on this team. There's still talent on this team. Mike Schultz managing. Like, let's not act like the Padres are going to suck next year. I guess they could, but I think they're going to have a roster. Maybe this is just the optimistic side of me. I think they're going to have a roster that if things go right, they can be a postseason team in 2024. It's not rebuild. If they were blowing it up, then Manny would not be on the team. Then Tatis would not be on the team. Maybe one or two would stay, but Soto would not be on the team. Crony would not be on the team. And they'd find a way to move Bogaerts probably, even though that's like impossible. But they'd be doing that. That's like a full rebuild. They're not rebuilding by trading 1 year of Soto. That's not the Padres, they should go into full rebuild mode. No, they're trying to make the best out of the situation that they've sort of put themselves in. I mean, with Juan Soto last year and them going all in, they missed the postseason. So were they in rebuild mode then? Like, you don't need Juan Soto on your team to go win the World Series. He's won a World Series before, but Nationals won a World Series without Bryce Harper. The Braves won a World Series without Ronald Acuna Jr. He got hurt. Like the Rangers this past year won a World Series without Jacob deGrom. They're huge free agent signing. Juan Soto's a great baseball player, but you're not going to win if you don't have a rotation, if you don't have a pitching staff, if you don't have some depth. You're not going to win. Yankee fan in here says, hey, Padres fans, you had your chance to win a championship last year, I assume. And the Padres did not respond. Now, knowing that you guys were not winning a championship, then you guys should have traded Soto. At the deadline, I assume, is what you're thinking? Well, at that time, after having a good series against Texas, I think they were like 3 games back or 3 games under 500, something like that. So the Padres weren't going to do that. I thought that they should have traded Snell and Hader because it wasn't happening. Soto, I was not saying trade Soto because I was thinking there's still another year of Soto. I didn't know what his salary was going to look like. My battery is low on the laptop, so right now I am logging into StreamYard. That's the platform that I do it on, by the way. Oh, looks like Yes Network, I think, tweeted out something here. All right, so I am on here. Whoa. Hold on 1 second. Mike's muted, my bad. Okay, so my laptop is literally about to die, so that's why I had to change to my phone. Yeah, Preston, sorry. I'm not on mute anymore, I don't think. Or at least I shouldn't be on mute anymore. But hopefully you can see me, and I'm going to try to go through the chat. I don't know where I left off here. Anderson asks, when do you think this trade gets done if it does? I mean, Andy Martino of... Okay, Bob Nightingale just tweeted, optimism the trade will now be completed this afternoon. I mean, if it's not completed for another couple of hours, then I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay on for another couple of hours. I might have to just do another show that, okay, Padres have done it. Here's my reaction to the deal, the return, because I'm trying to stay on as long as possible. But if it's going to be doing this for a couple more hours and we're not going to know anything, I mean, it's been almost 2 hours now. So I feel like I've given my thoughts, a lot of my thoughts on this deal and what could happen here. But I'm still going to keep going through the chat and see if something pops up here. And then once I get to the end of the chat, I'll probably end it and then come back on when a trade ends up being finalized. Because we're at Soto to the Yankees trade will be done within a few hours. Sounds like a decent chance, according to Andy Martino. That was 20 minutes ago. Bob Nightingale, optimism the trade will now be completed this afternoon. What time is it even? I don't even know what time it is. What time is it? 19, okay. So this afternoon. Yeah, it's probably going to be a couple hours, huh? The medicals are probably going to take time. Beach City TV says we would have about $50 to $60 million to spend after the Soto trade. Would we? 11 plus 30 is 41. That gets to like 200. If you add on someone like Grisham, that's more. I don't know if it's 50 to 60 mil. Well, I guess the reports have been the Padres, it's around $200 million. So that around 200, is that 210? If that's correct, then yeah, that's more accurate. But yeah, let's put it this way. They're going to have much more room to spend once Juan Soto gets dealt. Snell, I don't see them doing that. I don't see them doing that. I think that's a pretty big risk to pay Snell almost $200 million for a guy that this past year, let's face it, he's not going to be better than that this past year than what he was. He's not going to get to that again. And the years before that, he was inconsistent. The Padres need more consistency out of a guy that they're going to give a little less than $200 million to. And I don't see them giving anyone a little less than $200 million. So, yeah, Snell, he's going to get paid by someone. Congratulations to him. He will get paid by someone. Yeah, I agree. This is a good point here from Beto11. You're not clearing $30 million in salary to put back that same $30 million into salary. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, I agree with that. The Padres, they're clearing this money to spend the $30 million on a bunch of different spots, on stuff that's more of a priority, like starting pitching, but not on one starting pitcher, on more than one starting pitcher. The Padres just got someone from the Rule 5 draft, I think. Let me check that. I think Sammy Levitt put that out there. Free agent Eduardo Rodriguez, who met with clubs at the winter meetings, is down to 2 teams and is expected to have a decision by tomorrow. That's according to John Heyman. Padres aren't going to be one of those teams, I wouldn't think, because he's going to get paid. Padres. Okay, so this is the AAA phase. The Major League phase, they drafted a reliever. The AAA phase, they selected a shortstop from the Royals, Clay Dungan. So he could be their shortstop, I guess, for El Paso. Or he'll just be a depth guy. He could probably move to a different position if they bring in a shortstop depth guy. So I believe in the AAA phase of the Rule 5 draft, I think they have to stay at AAA or be brought up to the big league level. Or if they're not going to be there, then they have to be offered to the other team, offered back, I think. So, yeah, Clay Dungan from the Royals. Never heard of him. Not going to spend much time on that because Padres fans probably don't care too much about that. Lizzie says they have to take that money and possible prospects and get us an ace. I don't think that they have to. I mean, yeah, you'd love to have Corbin Burnes, or you'd love to have Yamamoto or someone like that, but I don't think that they have to go get an ace with the money. Now, if they do it in a trade, okay, but free agency, an ace costs, $150 million. They're not in a spot to do that. And again, it goes back to you trade Soto so that you have more flexibility to go add in a lot of different areas, not one. And the Padres don't need one starter. They need multiple starting pitchers. So I don't see them going in that direction of adding just one ace. Yep, only the first week of December. Preston says Padres need to be considered underdogs. They can't have the hype from last year. They would fall flat. I think that's going to be a positive, for this next season, is that the Padres will be looked at as the underdog. They will probably say that, we're the underdog. And, I think as the underdog, you have that mentality. You have the urgency. You have, we're going to give our best every night because we're the underdog. We're not expected to win. Let's go prove them wrong. Right? Where if you're the favorite, and this happened this past year, there wasn't enough urgency. Some players thought it felt like, it'll turn around. It'll be all right. And then it didn't. And then they started panicking. And there goes my laptop. That just died. So good thing I switched over to my phone. I think the underdog thing can help them, but we obviously would rather be the favorite because that means you have the better baseball team. But we shouldn't be the favorite. We don't deserve to be the favorite based on what happened last year and what the roster looks like this year, even what it's going to look like. They're not going to be the favorite, and they don't deserve to be. Bottom line, I don't care if they're the favorite, they're underdog, whatever. They just have to go play better baseball. The offense has to be better with runners in scoring position. Let's hope the bullpen can be a little bit more consistent. It was really good at the beginning, but then kind of fell off. Let's hope that can be more consistent. Let's hope Preller and Schiltz communication can be good. Manny and the other leaders in that clubhouse not giving up. And when they say something, back it up. Because there was word from in that clubhouse last year, according to reports, that Manny would say stuff, someone would say something, and then they wouldn't go back it up. And so those words lost value. They lost weight. Yeah, I agree, Craig. If Soto is all we needed, then we would be champions. Yeah. And this, I don't think Craig, and same thing with me, don't mean it as, yes, Soto, we don't need him. We don't need him. He's not a good baseball player. Let's go win the World Series without him. We don't see ya, Soto. No, it sucks. It sucks to be in this spot to have to trade Juan Soto. But this is the Padres, the situation that they put themselves in. And they don't have a good pitching staff right now. There's some good parts, but they don't have a good pitching staff. They need the pitching. And it's not like and I was saying this earlier, it's not like it's Juan Soto and a bunch of, rookies. It's not like it's Juan Soto and a bunch of Trent Grishams, guys that are hitting 200. No, there's talent on this team. There's a bunch of star talent still on this team, even if you take Juan Soto out of it. And who knows who the Padres will add to this lineup once this Soto trade gets finalized. It's just Soto's contract, the timing. He's not under contract long-term. Other guys are not coming back in free agency. It just makes the most sense to deal Juan Soto to try to get more of a complete roster. That's all. I think that's all that I think we're saying there. Yeah, Corbin Burnes trade. Yeah, that would be good for the Padres. I just don't know how much would they be willing to give up for Corbin Burnes. Are they willing to give up a Dylan Lesko? Are they willing to give up a Robbie Snelling? Or is it Mazer, Iriarte? But those guys are closer to the big leagues than someone like Dylan Lesko is, someone like Robbie Snelling is. And Corbin Burnes, that's 1 year of control, who's not going to come back in free agency. At least that's what we think, right? I assume that other teams are going to be in a better spot financially to go bring in Corbin Burnes next offseason when he's a free agent than the Padres will be. And again, that's partly because of the situation that they've put themselves in. All right, good. You can hear me. Good. Thanks, Preston. Lizzie says, Soto probably wants to be on a big market team. Unfortunately, that is not the Padres. Can't blame him for wanting to play for a team like the Yankees. He's only 25. I disagree. The Padres are in it's not New York market, obviously. It's not LA market. But Juan Soto, okay, maybe he wants to play on the East Coast. Trey Turner, his wife, wanted to be on the East Coast. I understand that. If Soto wants to be on the East Coast, okay. We have preferences in life. If you're from the West Coast, you probably want to be on the West Coast. Or there's some that are willing to relocate and be on the East Coast. And they want to be there the rest of their lives. There's some people that are from New York and they go to Florida or they go to California and they live in California the rest of their lives. It's preference. So maybe he does want to be in New York. And if he does, okay. But if what you're hinting at is he doesn't, the Padres, they're not a big market. So that's why he doesn't want to be here long term. There's a couple things to that. Maybe Soto doesn't want to be with the Padres long term. We don't. So maybe that is a valid point. But I think a lot of this is the money, right? It is a business. He's trying to get a lot of money. And the Padres, again, timing-wise, it just didn't line up. They went with the guarantees to lock guys down long-term, and Soto's free agency came after that. And so they went to guarantee, lock down those guys, and we'll see what happens with Soto later. Let's try and go all in for the time that Soto's here. And they've put themselves in a sticky situation here. But the narrative, Padres not a big market team and all that. By the way, Padres just selected Omar Cruz, AAA phase of the Rule 5 draft. But yeah, the narrative like, oh, the Padres, they're not a big market team, and oh, Dodgers, Yankees, those are really the teams that like get all the attention and all, like, I think the Padres got a lot of attention going into 2023. I think they got a lot of attention in the postseason and when they acquired Juan Soto, and I think they got a lot of attention, and I think they're getting a lot of attention right now, right? Like, if you have good players on your team, it's like the NFL as well. Is Kansas City the biggest market? No, but they get a ton of attention because they have a good team. They have good players on their team. So I don't really buy that. In terms of Soto's preferences, we don't really know. So sure, right? He might want to play on the East Coast. If he does, okay, then all right, see ya. We can't do anything about that. We can't just relocate the franchise from Petco Park to Queens, right? There's already a team there. There's already a team in the Bronx. Can't control that. Can't control that Trey Turner, wife, wanted to be on the East Coast. You know, sometimes it's out of your control. You can do your best, and it's out of your control. But the Padres, the big market thing, I just don't agree with that. These owners have a ton of money. If you win and you show you want to win, fans are going to fill up the ballpark, and you're going to bring in a ton of money. And if things go right for the most part, like if the Padres would have made the postseason, the TV deal they would have had and still been making a bunch of money from that, they wouldn't have lost millions and millions of dollars from that. Would they have would the payroll not have to be at 200? Would it have to be at like 220 instead of 200? Maybe that would have allowed Soto to be staying with the Padres, you know? And then also some of it is the decision that the Padres made, bringing in Bogarts when they already had some shortstops, and that's $280 million that they couldn't offer to Juan Soto, and $108 million that they gave to Darvish that they can't offer to Soto. And that's just the decision that they made. I have faith in a bounce back year from Machado. I have faith in a bounce back year from Xander. Now, the question though is the injury, right? As long as he doesn't get hit in the wrist, when he wasn't getting hit on the wrist, he was really good at the beginning of the year. Then he was really good there, I think, right after the All-Star break when he had the cortisone shot. And then he was good, I think, a little bit at the end of the year too, right? When he wasn't in a lot of pain. But when he's in pain, the power goes away and he's not the same guy. So it's really just helping. It's just helping that wrist, right? And if he can stay healthy, you can get those cortisone shots to help the wrist. It's not a permanent fix, but just hope that wrist injury doesn't happen. And then we can get a good Xander Bogaerts and a guy that's going to hit almost 300 and be a good middle of the order bat. Tatis full off season. I've got faith in him. Manny, I feel like he's going to be motivated. At least I hope he's going to be motivated than ever to come win one for Peter and just bounce back from the embarrassment of the 2023 season. A super chat from Matthew. Let me pull that up. Sorry, the phone, it's hard to pull it up. There we go. Michael King, Clark Schmidt, and Thorpe for Soto would be a blessing in disguise with Niebla. Could Pods go get Manoah after the Soto trade? Is that a better team than last year? What would they give to Toronto for Manoah, though? Like, if they try to offer Grish for Manoah, that's not going to get it done, in my opinion. I don't think that's enough. But King, Clark, and Thorpe's not happening. So let's get that out of our heads. The Yankees aren't going to give King, Clark, and Thorpe. It feels like they're going to give King and Thorpe, but not Clark as well. That's their top pitching prospect. That's two of their rotation guys. I think they don't want to do King and Thorpe. They don't want to do either of those guys. So to give up Thorpe and King, that's making them bend more than they want to. So that's not happening. But in terms of your point, yes, King working with Ruben Niebla, I'd love to see that. We saw that with Seth Lugo, reliever, comes and is a starter and was pretty darn successful with the Padres this past year. He outpriced himself with the Padres because of the year that he had. And he's going to get 3-4 years probably in free agency. Drew Thorpe, prospect, coming up, top Yankees pitching prospect, comes up, hopefully would be a top of the rotation guy. alongside someone like Robbie Snelling, and we'll see what Mazer and Iriarte bring, and Lesko years down the road, hopefully 2025. Ruben working with anyone, because I trust Ruben. It seems like he is a great pitching coach and knows what the heck he's talking about. And he gets respect from everyone in that Padres organization. So, yeah, whoever they get back, I'm going to have confidence in Ruben Niebla that he can help get more out of those guys than what they've been able to give. Maybe it's not just Ruben, but other Padres staff, like doctors and the medical team, and other people in that organization that help with mechanics and doing the right things to keep pitchers healthy. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully. So if King comes to the Padres, which it seems like he's going to, health is obviously a big thing. And if he gives you a Seth Lugo year, and he can do that again in 2025, I think you'll take that. Because I don't think we should expect King to come over here and save the pod, like be the ace of the staff. I think he'd be a 3 starter, preferably 4 probably. Probably want to get someone else a little better than King, or at least that's more known as a starter. But if he can be a solid 4 starter for the Padres, and I know that's not what Padre fans want to hear because you're giving up Juan Soto, but if he can do that and he can stay healthy, then that's a good guy that the Padres got back in a deal. Thank you, Matthew, for that super chat. I appreciate that. All right. Any more comments here that I want to get to? Let's see. SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your order. Underdog Fantasy already ran an ad there for them. 100% deposit match up to $100. Check them out. Click the link in the description. Same thing. Click the link in the description for Breaking Tea and Focos. They've got some Padres gift ideas there on their sites. And Gaglione Bros, the main sponsor of the show. Best cheesesteaks and garlic fries in San Diego. Main location on Friars Road. Go check them out. Great, great food there. And they'll treat you well as well. They're inside Snapdragon Stadium, inside Petco Park during the events there. All right. Cronenworth for Manoah. That's interesting because Cronenworth can play infield. It is a salary dump. That's interesting. Because with the Blue Jays, Bichette, he's nearing free agency. So they could just have Cronenworth there. But they don't have it. I don't know who would play shortstop, though. Cronenworth would play second, right? They have Kevin Biggio still. They don't have Matt Chapman. Vlad Jr. is going to hit free agency, I think, the same year that Bichette is. Well, maybe they land Ohtani, and then who the heck knows what's going to happen after that. But that's something that has not been brought up. Cronenworth for Manoah would be interesting. I feel like the Padres would want more, though, than just Manoah. But the Blue Jays would be like, dude, we're taking on Cronenworth. It's a salary dump. But the Padres could say, no, we're helping you because Cronenworth still has value. You could go play him at second base. He was a 2-time All-Star. And if he bounces back and has good years, it turns into not that bad of a contract. And it would be way cheaper than extending someone like Vlad Jr. if they get Ohtani, or signing Bo Bichette. Now, those guys are better than Cronenworth. I understand that. But that is interesting. I feel like more like Grisham and maybe another pitcher or another prospect thrown in there for Manoah would be more reasonable. But yeah, Cronenworth for Manoah is definitely interesting. That's a good one there, Mito Machine. Would I do it Manoah for Cronenworth straight up? Probably not. Oh, look who's here. Padres wrap-up show. Is this John or Jim? Probably Jim. How long have you been live for? I've been live for 2 hours and 19 minutes. Yeah. Right when those tweets came out that Soto close to a deal, close to the trade's close, I came on, talked with Bryce Miller for like 40 minutes, from the UT. He was nice enough to come on. Thank you so much to him. And then I've just been pretty much rambling and waiting for a deal. I'm not going to be able to do this unless the Soto deal drops like right now. I'm not going to be able to do this for 3 more hours consecutive because, you know, my laptop already died and it was at like full power, and then my phone will die at some point. But yeah, just hanging out with Padres fans. I think I saw a notification. John and Jim went live on their channel, and they're probably already done. So I've outlasted them for a while here. Oh, yeah, it's Jim. Jim said that. That is Jim, huh? Why does your lighting suck? Yeah, thanks. I'm in my garage. That's why. Oh, there's John. Okay. What's up, man? I would send you the link, but I'm on my phone, and my laptop's dead, so it's kind of hard to do that at the same time. But yeah, I would love to have you come on, but yeah, can't really. Or I mean, the link's in the chat, isn't it? I think it is. Okay, another John is on the show. Okay, sorry, I'm on my phone here, so let's see if this works.
All good. All good. Me too. I'm on my phone too.
There we go. What's up?
Nothing much, man. I'm gonna go down to the store actually a little bit later. Gonna get a Juan Soto jersey. It's gonna be like 75% off by the end of the day. So we'll see. Honestly, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, I'm just waiting to see if the Padres can actually get the package back, get Thorpe, get Michael King, and then who are the others going to be? That's what I'm interested in. Who are those others going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the camp that Grisham might get traded, or somebody additional to try and sweeten the deal with the Yankees, because I feel like the Yankees were trying to get limited amount of prospects or lower end prospects in exchange for Soto because of the 1-year deal, so I wouldn't be surprised if Preller's kind of sweetened the deal with like, hey, I could throw in Grisham if you guys really want. I mean, Donaldson didn't work out.
With Verdugo, though, they just acquired Verdugo, and Verdugo's not going to go to the Padres. Verdugo could go somewhere else, but would the Yankees be willing to pay $6 million to have Grish be their 4th outfielder? And then Dominguez comes back in like August. I feel like they could go get like Kevin Pillar or something like that to be the backup center for Judge if something happens, and they'd still have Soto and Verdugo on the corners. I think they would do that because Pillar would cost less than $6 million probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Yankees really have to respond, much like the Padres do, to their fan base, and they have to provide big names as a result. I think, or they have to spend in some sort of way. So, I mean, Verdugo makes sense for them. I mean, obviously not for Boston, but the Yankees for sure. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised again if it's Soto plus something else. You know what I mean? Maybe a prospect or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm gonna be sad to see Soto go. I wouldn't be surprised if it nips us in the bud later. But at the end of the day, we got to free up some sort of payroll, and Juan Soto is too much for us to ask. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll find some sort of money hiding away somewhere after a TV deal, and Juan Soto will be in the free agent market, and who knows? I mean, who knows at the end of the day? But then again, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Preller also has several aces up his sleeves where, I mean, the guy doesn't speak hardly to the media. He doesn't say words at all. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah. I mean, man, somebody should honestly take a media class, and just study him, because he's really good at saying nothing but saying things as well. So, I mean, we'll see. I also wouldn't be surprised if he's a completely different person in the negotiating table than he is to the media. So,
well, he is. Yeah, that's been said. Like, even I think it's been said on Darren Smith's show on San Diego Sports 760 and Marty Caswell. Like, when he talks to other people, not like at a press conference, he's fine. It's when he's talking to the media where it's like he has this like alert on, like, okay, nope, whatever Kevin asked me, whatever Dennis asked me, whatever, I am not going to say anything. I'm going to talk for a minute and pretty much say, yeah, we're looking at our options, so we'll see what happens. to like every question, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of also begs the question of like, where do we go from here? I mean, Soto is $30 million arbitration, and that definitely frees up that kind of money for us. I mean, my question is, are we in Yamamoto? Are we involved in these high level talks? I mean, I'm not saying Snell or Otani or whatever because it wouldn't make
Well,
any sense.
Yamamoto's going to cost more than Snell.
I mean, that's
Yamamoto's
up
going
for
to get
debate.
a 9-10 year deal worth $200+ million.
I mean, yeah, he could theoretically could fetch that. I mean, again, it kind of goes down to the player, what the player necessarily wants. I think, like for Otani, for example. I mean, it's
Oh,
not about the money.
If the
for him.
Soto deal goes through with the Yankees, the expectation is they also would receive Trent Grisham, with plans to use as fourth outfielder. That's
Oh,
what Joel Sherman just said. Interesting.
all right.
Well, then what I just said about, well, why would they have Verdugo, or why would they have Grish when they have Verdugo there? That's interesting. So, I mean, they're kind of at the spot last year with the Padres, like payroll wise, where they're just blowing through everything. Who cares? They're just at that spot where what's another $5-6 million for Grish, and we have him for a couple years. And Judge sometimes gets hurt. We know that. Soto could get hurt. Verdugo could get hurt, or they just don't perform. Or you could have Soto DH if Stanton gets hurt, when he gets hurt. They'll just have a lot of different options. Having Grish on the bench is not the worst thing for the Yankees.
No, I mean, and again, Grisham, he's a great defender, and the problem is he just can't hit. And I mean, maybe a change of scenery is probably good for him at the end of the day. I mean, again, if Trent Grisham gets traded, it's not the biggest loss. Tatis could definitely transfer over to center field, or we could find a center fielder or something of the sort. Again, the Padres have options with trading Soto. As painful as it is to admit, it's the fact that we just need to cut payroll in some sort of way. And I keep have to remind myself that we are going to be competitive next year. I mean, regardless of whatever is going on with the Dodgers or anything like that, is that we still have a talented team on a talented roster. And on top of that, I mean, the Giants haven't made any moves. I mean, they're not going to make any moves. They're probably going to be left of the altar again. I have a feeling. And then, Arizona, we'll see what happens with them and their revenue that they've gained over the playoffs. And then on top of that, I mean, the Rockies, who knows? Who knows what's going on with them? But again, it's we'll see what happens. It's kind of a wait and see. I mean, Soto is just the first domino of hopefully many where the Padres can finally make a cohesive roster work for them. And again, we'll see. It's all a waiting game. This winter meetings have been super cold, and I'm very disappointed in them, quite frankly. But it could change all in an hour. Who knows?
Yeah, the Verdugo thing was interesting, but I think Padres fans, today it's heating up, and they're close, and now we're waiting for a few hours here. Then there's the Joel Sherman thing that just came out with Trent. Interesting. I mean, yeah, I do wish that there was like some sort of deadline either for trades. I know it wouldn't happen, but just to create guarantee that there was something going on at these winter meetings every year, something big. But there's been some winter meetings, the San Diego winter meetings, there's big free agent deals that are happening, and there's a lot of talk, and it's great. And feels like everyone's focused on the baseball world. But when your biggest free agent ever doesn't want anything out, and the Padres I thought that they were going to wait till that guy signed somewhere to try to get other teams involved. It just, and then Yamamoto, he's not meeting with teams until next week. Those are three huge things here in the offseason that are big dominoes that we're waiting to fall. And so that's going to lead to not a whole lot happening. But hopefully something happens here because, I mean, I've been live for almost 2.5 hours now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my luck when I end this, it's going to happen, but we'll see. John, thanks so much for the time.
No problem, man. Have a good one, all right?
All right, you too. All right, let's see how I can. Okay, he already left. Good. So I can just go on as usual. Sorry, on my phone here, and I don't have like the iPhone 50 or whatever it's called, whatever the latest one is. So I have a little bit smaller of a phone, so I'm trying to get through the chat. Jim, okay, dude, talk about the Rule 5 draft. Yeah, so the Padres drafted a pitcher. I already forgot the dude's name, but he's a reliever from the Seattle organization, and he'll be competing for a bullpen spot, I guess. And then in the AAA part, they drafted another pitcher, I think, and then they drafted a shortstop, I think, from the Kansas City organization. I've already blanked on their names, so there's your Rule 5 talk. David says Soto and Grish for King, Thorpe, Brito, Higashioka. I'd do that. That's reasonable. Yeah. You get King and Thorpe, which is what the Padres wanted. Let Niebla work with King. Hopefully King can be like this next year's Seth Lugo. Brito, I think he would be able to be like a swing guy, reliever. And then Higashioka, there's your backup catcher. And I think he would be making less. Oh, just saw a trade go down. Mets acquiring a minor league reliever. Whatever. What did I say? Higashioka. He would make less money than Gary Sanchez. Let's say Gary Sanchez would be $8 million a year, which is what Kevin reported yesterday. Kevin AC, like $6 to $8 million. Let's say it's 8 or 7, whatever. I think Higashioka, I don't have the contract right in front of me, but I would think he would be making less than that. And he can start every day. He, I believe, caught for Garrett Cole, and he at one point was the starter during an injury for the Yankees. So I'd be fine with Higashioka. I mean, you ask Yankees fans, like actually ones that will tell you the truth. BBD from Talking Yanks came on the show to talk about a possible Juan Soto deal. If you missed that, I thought it was a great conversation. Got a perspective from Padre fan and Yankee fan. With Higashioka, he said like that's probably like the best backup catcher that you could ask for. So I would like it. Don't know if the Yankees will do it. They have a ton of catchers though. So I think they'd be willing to do it, especially if it means that they can get Juan Soto. And Grish, it's not the worst fourth outfielder to have. Zoom says, let's stop acting like we are losing our only power hitter. We have Tatis, Manny, and others. Yes, it would have been nice to keep Soto. And one question, did Texas have Soto last year? That's true. And like Texas last year, if you look at them last year, sure, they had Adolis Garcia, but they had their big contract infield guys. Guess what? The Padres have that. Those guys performed. So the Padres aren't going to be in a terrible spot if Manny performs, if Xander performs, if Tatis performs. If Cronenworth's still on the team, he has a better year. Okay. If Kim can if he can have a year like he had last year even, like they're not going to be in a bad spot. If Camposano can be healthy, that's not going to be in a bad spot. The question mark right now, I feel like, is pitching. And what they're going to do outfield as well, because they're going to be departing with outfielders. But the pitching is the big question right now, and if those guys can bounce back. But, yeah, like I said earlier, there's still talent in this lineup. It's not like they're rebuilding. Just because they trade Soto doesn't mean they're rebuilding. All right, any more comments to get to? Chad says we need all the pitching and then some. That's what the Padres are trying to do here. Okay, I'm going to defend my guys here, John and Jim. Pedro says John and Jim are fake Padres fans. Everyone knows that. Okay. These guys have a wrap-up show. They talk about the Padres every day on the radio. That's the number one topic. Were they from San Diego? No, they can't control that, okay? They care about the Padres. They wouldn't do a wrap-up show. There are other people that go on the radio and they care about the Padres too, but they don't have a wrap-up show after almost every Padres game like they do. So I definitely disagree there, Pedro, and they are honest about the team. They give their thought. I disagree with some of the things that, like some of their opinions, but that's what sports is. You know, it's fun to agree and disagree and argue, but they wouldn't be doing all of the things that they do if they didn't actually care. So let's stop with that. Let's see. Yeah, Grisham back in the deal according to Joel Sherman. Xavier says King is the most versatile pitcher the Yankees have, bullpen or starter. Dude is a monster. And here's another thing. The Padres just lost Nick Martinez. So they need another Nick Martinez back. Maybe Johnny Brito would be the Nick Martinez, or Randy Vasquez would be the Nick Martinez, not Michael King. Maybe Michael King would be Seth Lugo. But if he's not Seth Lugo and he has to be Nick Martinez, that's not the worst thing. Like, Nick Martinez is a valuable guy to have. Someone like that who can start, who can be in the bullpen, can pitch high leverage innings out of the bullpen. A sub-3 ERA is what King had last year and the year before. That's a valuable piece. And then again, obviously the question is, what do the Padres do when they have this money freed up from the Soto contract? That is true. That is true, Pedro. Yes, Jim does ruin all the San Diego press conferences. Yep. All right, that's going to do it. Talking for Hours episode 532. Thank you, everyone, for the 2.5 hours that you have spent here, whether it's 5 minutes or all 2.5 hours. Thank you, everyone, for the time. My luck, right when I end this, the deal's going to come down, but my phone's going to die. Laptop has already died, so that's going to be it. Hopefully you enjoyed my talk and Bryce Miller coming on the show. Hopefully you enjoyed us talking about the Padres and a potential move here. And we'll see if there's more movement closer to a deal. We'll see if a deal happens later today. So that's it. See you, everybody.